The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the organic wine company, ecowine.com.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242 or visit freespeechbeets.com. Welcome back. It's Friday. This is Thom Hartmann here with you, and it's it's the end of our first week on our fund drive, and our spring fund drive, I guess this would be, and membership drive. And yesterday we slid back a little. The day before yesterday, on Wednesday, we surpassed our $10,000 goal by $3,000, but yesterday I think we hit around $6,000. So special thanks and kudos and props and to those of you who called yesterday at 877-378-8669 and made a contribution. And thank you very much. And if you've donated at all this week, thank you so much. And there's still time to be part of the Free Speech TV family, to be part of a movement. I mean, the revolution starts here. It will be televised. If you help, if you support Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV, there is such a, we were talking with Katrina Vanden Heuvel, was it yesterday or the day before, on this program, and she was talking about how there needs to be a progressive, 24/7 progressive presence on cable TV. And Free Speech TV is growing into that right now. Free Speech TV is on cable systems all over the country, nowhere near the ubiquity of Fox or CNN, but we're getting there step by step, and we're getting there with your help. And that's an amazing thing. You look at this network, and it's come from basically nothing. I mean, it was a little network that was broadcasting in the Denver area. It started out and broadcasting documentaries and the guys who were running it, would sit there with VCRs and swap out the videos, to now a full-time, quite sophisticated television network. It's extraordinary, and it's because of you. So please call now. We're trying to hit our $10,000 goal today. 877-378-8669 with a $60 gift. Free Speech TV will send you a Free Speech TV water bottle. With a $120 gift, Free Speech TV will send you a copy of Sarah Van Gelder. She's the editor of Yes Magazine. They'll send you a copy of her new book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through a New America by Sarah Van Gelder. Sarah, the former editor of Yes Magazine, took this road trip and discovered America. And it's really a rather remarkable book. With a $150 contribution, you get both the book and the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. That's pretty cool stuff. With a $240 gift, you get the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, the Free Speech TV water bottle, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, all kinds of cool stuff. With a $360 gift, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV hand fan, and the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Washington, D.C., and we'll have a pizza party, and you're invited. So a lot of fun, and I learn a lot. I meet some great people, and, would love to meet you if you can make it to D.C. So those are the price levels, or the giving levels, I guess would be the correct phrase. And, the goodies that you can get by contributing to Free Speech TV, and invoking the name of our program. But more important is just to keep Free Speech TV going. This network is such a great thing. It is so important that Free Speech TV continue. So many of you I know, and I really, truly appreciate it, have been telling your friends and neighbors. I on Twitter and even an email, I get continuously a stream of people coming on saying, "Hey, a friend of mine told me about Free Speech TV, and I started watching, and now I'm totally hooked on Stephanie Miller, or I love your program, or Amy Goodman does news like there's no tomorrow, or whatever." I mean, it's just there's a bunch of other great programming on Free Speech TV too, and it's working. So let's keep the momentum going. Let's keep this thing working. And let's keep the electrons flowing into your home. So call now, 877-378-8669, whether you can only afford to give $10 or whether you can afford to give $10,000. It's all needed right now. And in fact, back, 4, 5, 6 months ago, I guess it was, somebody had left their will. They had left part of their estate to Free Speech TV, and then they passed on. And it was a six-figure gift. It was quite substantial. And, that's a possibility too. You can contact Free Speech TV and talk to them about that, about leaving something in your will or in your, however you do that, whatever the appropriate language is for Free Speech TV. So there's lots of things that can be done. But most important, right now, we've got to hit this budget. We need to, we absolutely need to pay the bills. And that's what's at stake here. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you so much for supporting Free Speech TV. We're here because of you. Thank you. Greetings, my friends, patriots, lovers of democracy, truth, and justice, believers in peace, freedom, and the American way. It's Anything Goes Friday here on the Thom Hartmann Program, so pretty much any topic you want to talk about, we can get into. There are a couple things that are, pretty front and center. First of all, it's St. Patrick's Day. I wore yellow, and Troy wore blue, and Chris wore blue. Nate is wearing pink. I'm not sure that, Oh, it says peace with Iran. Oh, cool. That's a nice T-shirt, Nate. So maybe if you mix this all together, you've got green, right? I don't know. But the important point, I think, is that from 1845 until 1850, 53, something like that. Yeah. And this would have been a decade before the Civil War, actually. There were, all these Irish immigrants who came to the United States fleeing the potato famine. The potato famine was when a blight, a fungus, attacked the potato crop in Ireland. Now, we all know that part of the story, right? I mean, that's kind of, third grade history. What most Americans probably don't know is that 1 million people starved to death in Ireland because the British were saying, we're going to leave the port of Dublin open, and we'll let the free market take care of you hungry people. No, not making this up. This was the rhetoric that was used in England. Ireland was exporting food. 80-90% of the food grown in Ireland was grown for export to the United Kingdom. They were exporting wheat, they were exporting corn, they were exporting all kinds of stuff, and the only thing that the Irish farmers were allowed to grow for themselves to eat was potatoes. So they were literally starving as they were loading the export ships for the United Kingdom. I think you could say that there's an analogy there with the starving part and keeping people desperate. But it worked for the United Kingdom back then. And now you get this O'Riordan. I'm not sure how to pronounce Gaelic names, but
He is a Irish Labour Party senator, and he has called out Donald Trump. He says, historically, we are the ones who were called terrorists when bombs are going off in the UK. You can call someone a terrorist or give an impression that a certain entire religious faith is connected with terrorism, and that's really undermining. Right. So anyhow, there's that. I wanted to share that with you, and if you have some thoughts on it, it's more than welcome. There's something that's more of kind of an interesting, deep topic that I wanted to share with you. This is, I've mentioned this. I mentioned this the other day here on this program. I think it was Monday of this week I mentioned it, but I wanted to do just a little bit of a deeper drill. I noticed, last week I flew to Minneapolis and back for the Blue State Ball with KTNF, our affiliate in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And we had a great time, and it was just, this radio station is just a real gem. And they're doing great work. And I was very pleased to be able to go and participate. And to get there, I took 2 flights. I flew from here to Newark, and then from Newark to Minneapolis. And then to get back, I flew from Minneapolis to Chicago, and Chicago back to D.C. And I did all that because, I'm accumulating miles and that kind of thing on one particular airline. There were more direct flights, but they weren't on the airline I wanted. But so in any case, the net result of this was that I had 4 flights in 2 days. And on the flight home, the last flight home, the Chicago to D.C., it suddenly hit me. I was sitting in the plane, and the guy next to me, a young man, I'd guess in his late 20s, was totally glued to his phone, his iPhone, and was playing chess on it. And in fact, I thought that looks like fun. And I'm just like, I never really got good at chess. So in fact, I was so taken with this young man who was just so obsessed with his chess that I sent a note to my son saying, hey, next time we get together, can you, help me polish my chess skills? Because my son's pretty good at it and I'm not. But then I was looking around the plane thinking, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, back in the 80s and the 90s, Louise and I had an ad agency in Atlanta, and we were teaching seminars all over the world on advertising and promotion. And I was traveling a lot. I've got 2.6 million frequent flyer miles, or miles flown on Delta Airlines, lifetime gold because of that, because we lived in Atlanta, and I did all my flying out of Atlanta. And I met all kinds of people. I met people on planes. I'd bring home their business cards. I'd take cards with me to pass out. Because people talked on airplanes. And especially if you have a lot of miles, you tend to get upgraded to first class a lot. And you can use your miles to do it, which is what I do. And sometimes you just put your name on the list and you get upgraded, depending on your frequent flyer status. But first class was, always the home of the never-ending, the bottomless wine glass, which led to lots and lots of conversations. And so I'm sitting in first class, actually, on this flight back from Chicago. And looking around and thinking, holy cow, nobody is saying a word. The entire plane was silent. And then I kind of went through them in my head over the last couple of days, and every flight was silent, which is not what I remember from 30, 40 years of flying. I remember airplanes that were just buzzing, filled with conversation. And then I over the last month or so, I've noticed it used to be whenever I would pick up an Uber car that, the drivers would be real chatty. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? And, I've been using Uber now for 5 years here in D.C., as long as they've been here. And used Lyft also, their competing service. And it's, they used to be really chatty people. And the other day I had a Uber driver who just, didn't say anything. And about halfway home, I tried to strike up a conversation, a beautiful day out. And the guy started talking to me. And I said, I've noticed a lot of Uber drivers are just silent these days. And he said, yeah, most people get in the car and they just want to look at their phone. So all of this is by way of introducing to you this article by Matt Ritchell in the New York Times dated March 13th. This is from the beginning of this week, or late last week, Friday, Saturday last week. And the headline was, "Are Teenagers Replacing Drugs with Smartphones?" Now, something that is strong enough to silence an entire airplane full of people, you would think that's got to be a narcotic, right? That's got to be a drug. What can silence an entire group of people who are traveling on Uber or in airplanes? What has that power? Addictive drugs. Very straightforward. And this is where it gets really fascinating, because what they're finding is that American teenagers are less likely to try drugs, particularly the addictive drugs like opiates. They're less likely to try these than our earlier generations, and nobody knows why. But this one researcher, Nora Volkow, she's the director of the National Institute of Drug Abuse, she says something is going on. She said there is she's described interactive media, this would be social media, right? Facebook, Twitter, that kind of thing, as an alternative reinforcer to drugs, adding that teens can literally get high when playing these games. She said playing video games using social media that fulfills the necessity of sensation seeking, their need to seek novel activity. It still needs to be proved, this theory, but hey, it's possible. And there was another researcher here, Dr. David Greenfield, Associate Clinical Professor of Psychiatry at the University of Connecticut School of Medicine. And he says people are carrying around a portable dopamine pump. Kids have basically been carrying it around for the last 10 years. Now, dopamine is the neurotransmitter, the hormone that is responsible or is associated with rapid thinking and euphoria. When you do cocaine, what you're doing is you're jacking your dopamine levels up. When you do crystal meth, what you're doing is you're jacking your dopamine levels up. When you kiss somebody, you're jacking your dopamine levels up. When you engage in risk-seeking behavior, you go skydiving, you're jacking your dopamine levels up. Dopamine gives us almost a euphoric sense. And people get addicted to dopamine. Alcohol produces dopamine. It might be part of the mechanism of alcohol addiction. Certainly, risky behavior is demonstrated to be addictive. So is it possible that our smartphones represent such an addiction? Now, again, keep in mind, just to use the heroin-opium metaphor, a lot of people over the years have used a tincture of opium. It used to be called laudanum, and it was perfectly legal in the United States, and from the time of the American Revolution until the 1920s. Lydia Pinkham's tonic, a tonic that was sold for women who had menstrual cramps, was opium and a little tiny bit of cocaine. Coca-Cola had cocaine. Cocaine is a concentrate of the coca plant. And so what you do is you take the opium poppies, and if you smoke them, you know, it's a little bit of a high, but it's like not even as strong as a Percodan, right? I mean, it's not even 1/10 as strong as that. It just diminishes pain somewhat. It makes you feel kind of, And similarly, you chew on a coca leaf. And, you know, people go down to Peru and they visit an indigenous community. And I've done this. You chew on a coca leaf with a little piece of lime that releases the coca in it. And it's not as strong as a good, strong cup of coffee, frankly. But when you take that natural substance and you boil it down to its essence, you get heroin or cocaine. And these are addictive. So what if you take reality and boil it down to its essence? So, you know, you're watching a TV show, and now that person is 60 feet away, but gee, I can hear him as if I'm right here, and then suddenly we're on a close-up of his face, and now we're looking at somebody else through his eyes, and it's like concentrated reality. We're taking days of time and collapsing it into 30 or 60 minutes, and all these replacements for reality, whether we're playing a video game, whether we're playing something on our phone, whether we're reading on our phone, whatever, we're escaping into alternative realities that jack our dopamine.
And what's this going to do to the next generation of kids who are growing up already addicted to a dopamine buzz? When they get older, if they can set aside their phone, are they going to trade that in for other dopamine buzzes? Are they going to become caffeine addicts? Are they going to become, stimulation junkies? Are they going to become sex addicts? Are they going to become gambling junkies? I mean, these are all things that are associated with dopamine anomalies. ADHD is associated with low levels of dopamine. And ADHD people are constantly engaging in risk-seeking behavior in order to jack up their dopamine so that they feel more normal. Or at least that's one theory of it, one that I've put forward in several of my books. So what do you think? Have you ever had the experience, the sense that you are addicted to your screen? Is somebody in your family addicted to their screen? And what does this mean for society? What does this mean for us as a culture? I mean, in Hong Kong, the opium wars of the 1895, I think it ended in 1898, were fought over the British asserting their right to continue keeping the Chinese people addicted to opium. And that's how they seized Hong Kong. So we've fought wars over addictive drugs. Coffee, tea, opium, heroin, arguably. So what do we do with this, and what does this mean to you? So anyhow, that's just one thought. There's a lot on the table, though, and it's Anything Goes Friday, so anything you'd like to talk about, we'll pick up your calls after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Donald Trump meeting with Angela Merkel shortly. She's survived back rubs by George W. Bush. She'll probably survive this. And welcome back, Anita in San Antonio, Texas. Hey, Anita, thanks for watching Free Speech TV. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. I want to talk about that budget and the allocation for the wall.
Mm-hmm.
What, $2.6 billion, and it's going to be like, I can't remember, 20-something billion, right? Is that what they estimated?
I've seen a number of numbers, but I think the general consensus is that, when it's all done, it'll be around $20 billion, and they're appropriating $3 billion roughly right now out of, it's coming out of DHS, out of the DHS budget, as I recall.
It's going to cost so much more than that. And the reason why I think it is because in Texas, most of Texas, there's very little of Texas is public land. Most of that on the border is owned by ranchers.
Right. And
they're going to have, of course, declare eminent domain, but I am positive at least some of these ranchers are going to fight this in court.
Oh, yeah. Many of them have already declared their intention to do so. And a lot of this land really just doesn't lend itself to wall building. I mean, it's not land that humans could cross anyway.
Well, it's bad. It's going to be terrible for the environment and
yes.
the plants and animals that live on the border.
Yeah. So
I don't think they care about that because they don't seem to care about the environment at all, according to that budget. I don't know if the statement that he made about climate change, we're not going to waste our money on that.
Yeah.
That was stunning to me. That was just stunning. But I got to say, at least they're telling the truth about what Republicans really want to do.
Well, sort of, Anita. And this is what astonished me is the absolute failure of the press to call them out on this. You had Mick Mulvaney yesterday saying, I don't want to ask a single mom in wherever it was, or a coal miner in West. Say that again?
Yeah. It was in Detroit.
Detroit, that's right. A single mom. I don't want to ask a single mom in Detroit or a coal miner in West Virginia to pay for the Environmental Protection Agency or whatever it was he was talking about. And the fact of the matter is they're not paying for it anyway. They are part of Mitt Romney's 47% who don't pay federal income taxes. So what Mick Mulvaney was really saying is that his real paymasters, the Koch brothers and billionaires of their ilk, we don't want them paying for your education. We don't want them paying for your clean air and clean water. That's what he was really saying.
Well, not to mention a single mother in Detroit is probably using those government funds. She probably has her kid in Head Start or after-school programs.
Yes.
And those minors, I'm sure, are using some of those government funds.
Yes.
For, their children or their parents. So
and their communities.
Yeah, didn't make any sense. The budget makes no sense, but it is what Republicans have always wanted.
Well, it makes perfect sense if you look at it from the point of view of a billionaire who's offended that he's having to pay a 20% capital gains income tax rate with a 3.9% surcharge for Obamacare on it. I mean, that's the biggest chunk of his taxes right there.
I don't think he cares. I don't think he even knows what's in that budget. I just think he's going to go along with
he being Trump.
I'm sorry?
He being Trump.
Yes, I don't think so. I think it's more Mike Pence, Paul Ryan, and Nick Mulvaney because.
Well, the big one I think is also Rebecca Mercer, given some of the reporting that I'm seeing here that Robert and Rebecca, his father and daughter, this billionaire duo who are kind of the power behind the throne now with the Trump administration. So we'll see where this all goes. Anita, thank you for the call. It's great to hear from you always. Coming up on 25 minutes past the hour. I'll be right back.
This year's election results have generated fear, sadness, and despair.
In the days and months ahead,
our democracy may face a crisis of historic proportions.
But there is good news.
There is good news.
There is good news. Thousands of people are stepping forward in solidarity,
resistance,
and resolve.
We join them.
We join them.
We join them.
In standing with the most vulnerable communities among us.
Those most likely to be targeted by new restrictions and policies.
We will tell their stories here.
Here
on Free Speech TV.
We will lift their voices here
on Free Speech TV.
In the difficult times ahead, know that we will be with you 24 hours a day.
Every day.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
There are millions of us.
Raising our voices and hearts together as one.
We've got your back.
We got your back.
Free Speech TV's got your back.
The revolution is in progress.
Back. How much time do we have? Less than a minute. Okay, I'm not going to pick up a phone call here until right after the break, but then we'll get to you. So my hypothesis here, just on this one thing, is that basically there's no objective reality. We create our reality through the filters that we have and the inputs that we have, and that increasingly we're taking an artificial reality as if it were reality, the reality of what we see on television, what we hear on the news, what we see, what we read on our phones or in our newspapers, whatever. We're taking that reality and living in it, or that it's informing us about reality. But that concentrated reality, whether it's concentrated coca, or whether it's concentrated opium, or whether it's concentrated television or video games or social media, that's a concentration of juice of the jolt that we get when we connect with another person. Do you get that jolt from Facebook or from Twitter? We'll be right back with your thoughts on this and other things.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
It's Anything Goes Friday. Back with your calls right after this. Welcome back. It's Friday. This is Thom Hartmann here with you, and it's it's the end of our first week on our fund drive, and our spring fund drive, I guess this would be, and membership drive. And yesterday we slid back a little. The day before yesterday, on Wednesday, we surpassed our $10,000 goal by $3,000, but yesterday I think we hit around $6,000. So special thanks and kudos and props and to those of you who called yesterday at 877-378-8669 and made a contribution. And thank you very much. And if you've donated at all this week, thank you so much. And there's still time to be part of the Free Speech TV family, to be part of a movement. I mean, the revolution starts here. It will be televised.
if you help, if you support Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV, there is such a, we were talking with Katrina Vanden Heuvel, was it yesterday or the day before, on this program, and she was talking about how there needs to be a progressive, 24/7 progressive presence on cable TV. And Free Speech TV is growing into that right now. Free Speech TV is on cable systems all over the country, nowhere near the ubiquity of Fox or CNN, but we're getting there step by step, and we're getting there with your help. And that's an amazing thing. You look at this network, and it's come from basically nothing. I mean, it was a little network that was broadcasting in the Denver area. It started out and broadcasting documentaries, and the guys who were running it, would sit there with VCRs and swap out the videos, to now a full-time, quite sophisticated television network. It's extraordinary, and it's because of you. So please call now. We're trying to hit our $10,000 goal today. 877-378-8669 with a $60 gift. Free Speech TV will send you a Free Speech TV water bottle. With a $120 gift, Free Speech TV will send you a copy of Sarah Van Gelder. She's the editor of Yes Magazine. They'll send you a copy of her new book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through a New America by Sarah Van Gelder. Sarah, the former editor of Yes Magazine, took this road trip and discovered America, and it's really a rather remarkable book. With a $150 contribution, you get both the book and the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. That's pretty cool stuff. With a $240 gift, you get the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, the Free Speech TV water bottle, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, all kinds of cool stuff. With a $360 gift, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV hand fan, and the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Washington, D.C., and we'll have a pizza party, and you're invited. So a lot of fun, and I learn a lot. I meet some great people, and, we'd love to meet you if you can make it to D.C. So those are the price levels, or the giving levels, I guess would be the correct phrase. And, the goodies that you can get by contributing to Free Speech TV, and invoking the name of our program. But more important is just keep Free Speech TV going. This network is such a great thing. It is so important that Free Speech TV continue. So many of you I know, and I really, truly appreciate it, have been telling your friends and neighbors. I on Twitter and even an email, I get continuously a stream of people coming on saying, hey, a friend of mine told me about Free Speech TV, and I started watching, and now I'm totally hooked on Stephanie Miller, or I love your program, or, Amy Goodman does news like there's no tomorrow, or whatever. I mean, it's just, there's a bunch of other great programming on Free Speech TV too. And it's working. So let's keep the momentum going. Let's keep this thing working. And let's keep the electrons flowing into your home. So call now, 877-378-8669, whether you can only afford to give $10 or whether you can afford to give $10,000. It's all needed right now. And in fact, back, 4, 5, 6 months ago, I guess it was, somebody had left their will. They had left part of their estate to Free Speech TV, and then they passed on. And it was a 6-figure gift. It was quite substantial. And, that's a possibility too. You can contact Free Speech TV and talk to them about that, about leaving something in your will, or in your, however you do that, whatever the appropriate language is for Free Speech TV. So there's lots of things that can be done. But most important, right now, we've got to hit this budget. We need to, we absolutely need to pay the bills. And that's what's at stake here. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you so much for supporting Free Speech TV. We're here because of you. Thank you.
Want to hear that clip again? Subscribe to the Thom Hartmann Program on YouTube to see all your favorite show highlights. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and well, let's check in with you all. It's Anything Goes Friday. Mary Ellen in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Hey, Mary Ellen, what's on your mind today?
Hello, Tom. I'm a longtime listener. This is my first call. I'm calling. This is a technology issue. I live in Santa Fe, and our electric company, P&M, has proposed the installation of electric smart meters. And it's flying under the radar. I have contacted the newspapers, the radio station, at the college. I've written letters to the editor, nothing. I got one
What's
little
your
article
objection?
after the hearing. Santa Fe is a city that I consider us to be well informed. We're not informed. I had to tell the mayor's office about this, Tom. So
now, Mary Ellen, my understanding was that smart meters are basically meters that can communicate back to the power company what your usage is, so that they don't have to send somebody out to read the meter. What am I missing here?
True. What you're missing is it's surveillance. It's surveillance. In some states, the ACLU are saying that data has been sold.
Oh, so the meters are keeping track of what you're using, when you're using it. They're building a database of that, and they could look at that and say, oh, we know when they're home, when they're not, when they're having a party, whether they're growing pot in their basement, whatever.
And our P&M, they keep changing their positions, so we really don't want smart meters. Now, our gas smart meters, we could opt out. Now, P&M, their proposal is for any of us who opt out, we would be charged $47 monthly over our bill.
All right, that's the cost, presumably, to send somebody out to read your meter.
It's so out of integrity, Tom. It's also easily hacked. Remember when Vermont's electric grid, was hacked by the Russians, maybe just to prove they could? So we want to...
I actually don't remember that, but I believe you.
Businesses. A little community south of Santa Fe, Silver City, with a population of, under 15,000. They worked for 6 months on this to say no electric smart meters, and they did have people come down to speak. But my concern is, Tom, this is an issue. This is going to affect us. The health ramifications are extensive. And you were talking about cell phones. This is a whole broad issue of technology. And when I spoke as a citizen on February 27th in Santa Fe, there was just a small group of us, and this was what was horrifying.
Why not look for regulatory relief, Mary Ellen, and simply say, we want these smart meters to be programmed so that only once, at the end of every measuring month, they can transmit data that is the accumulated total of use throughout the month, and thus the appropriate billing to the company, and no other information can be acquired or maintained or transmitted or sold.
See, it's a bigger issue, Tom. I'm going to throw something out and you can investigate it. I always like to follow the money. I was a citizen lobbyist back in the early 80s. Are you familiar, Tom, with the United Nations Agenda 21?
I am.
Could this be part of it? It seems like
Agenda 21. It's Mary Ellen. You've been watching Fox News. The UN had a meeting in, I think it was Lima, Peru, it was somewhere in South America, and there were some. Say what? Rio. Thank you, Troy. And there were like 40 agendas on the meeting, and by agenda they simply meant breakout sessions. Agenda 21 was a meeting about how to make a world that works. There was no mandate, there's no commission, there's no, this was turned into nonsense hysteria by Breitbart and Fox. There is no there, Mary Ellen. And I share your concerns about individual privacy. I think those are entirely legitimate, and those are things that can be dealt with on a regulatory basis. But if you're going to try and stop power companies from informing themselves about the power that you're consuming, I guarantee you're going to lose that battle.
Well, 57 places in California have opposed them, and some have enacted legislation. It's all over the country, and the way that it came in.
Okay, Mary Ellen, I need to move along to other callers, but let me educate myself more about this. I'm on the edge here of making assertions that I'm not certain of. So thank you for bringing up the issue, Mary Ellen. Maxine in Louisville, Colorado. Hey, Maxine, what's up?
Hi, Tom. How are you? I wanted to respond to your tech rant because I have an 11-year-old daughter who's in 6th grade, and I really gave her almost no access to technology through 4th grade because I work in the tech industry, and I spend most of my day on a computer, and I felt that it was just far too damaging for a developing brain. She was also very limited on television. I mean, very, very limited. And she's suffering a little bit now because her computer skills are not those of her peers. And they started doing all computer testing in school, and so for the first year or two it was really a struggle for her. But I feel like it is such an issue, and I control her access and limit it so much because it's so clearly addictive. Even for her, she really likes the audiobooks, and she has a phone now for my convenience. I'm a single parent, and I give her a bit of independence, and I like to have that communication with her. But I struggle with her just limiting the amount of time she spends on audiobooks because I find it just it really impacts her, and it becomes endless, and I see a difference in her behavior.
Interesting. We, when Louise and I had kids, we got rid of the TV when our oldest child was maybe 2. And we had no television until 2001, until our youngest child had moved out of the house, and there was world events going on that we felt we needed to keep up on, and we were putting together a business plan to put together this radio show, and it was like, okay, we got to watch television now after almost 30 years of no television. And it was a shock for us, but all 3 of our kids are voracious readers as a consequence and very good socially.
Absolutely voracious, and I have to cop to the fact that I've followed politics since the first Obama election, and so she's had some of that. Like she's become politically aware, but I see this with the kids, and their behavior fundamentally changes in a way that is so frightening to me in terms of their lack of interaction, or she'll be with a friend and they'll have their phones and they'll be playing with the phones, and I just take them away. I'm like, you guys play with each other.
Right.
But as a parent, I think you really have to be on that now. It's a real responsibility. And there is no, at her age, and I think even through the teen years, there's almost no internal mechanism available to those kids to self-regulate.
Yes, the self-regulation comes with the final development of I think it's called the orbital frontal cortex, the inhibitory parts of the brain that really develop between 18 and 22. But excellent point, Maxine. Excellent point. Thank you for the call and for sharing your insights. Lynn in Lakewood, California. Hey, Lynn, what's on your mind?
Hi, Tom. Quick story. On a flight from Chicago to L.A., so that's 4 or 5 hours, last seat, I was sitting in the aisle, and a lady next to me in the aisle on the other side was playing Candy Crush. And I had to tell her to turn it down. She had the volume up. She played that game the whole time. And at the end of the flight, I stood up, and she got up, and in a very slow motion, she started to lean down. I thought she was picking something up. And her head went right into my seat. She didn't use her hands. She just landed a face plant right to my seat. I'm glad I had gotten up. But my immediate thought was that was what happens when you spend 4 hours playing a video game, the same video game.
Oh, she had lost like the circulation in her leg or something, and it had gone to sleep, and she fell over, you mean? That's what you're talking about?
She leaned over, and her whole head went into my seat, the empty seat. So I just think I could be wrong, but my immediate thought was that's what her brain just stopped working.
Her brain shut down. It's entirely possible. Did you notice that your plane was unnaturally quiet?
It was very unquiet. And I know I've had some conversations with people, and when you do that, you realize you are the only ones having a conversation.
Yeah. And I mean, people are even wearing noise-canceling headphones by way of saying, don't talk to me. You know, I'm just going to sit here with my computer.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that it's like, it demonstrates a fundamental change in our culture. And I haven't made sense out of it yet, but I'm reminded of Robert Palmer, I think was his name. He wrote Bowling Alone back, it was a decade and a half ago, a national bestseller. It was Robert, his last name started with a P, but I don't remember. In any case, it's a brilliant book about the social disconnection in an age of technology. Lynn, thank you for the call. Thanks for sharing your story. It's a great one. We'll be back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
It's Anything Goes Friday. We'll be picking up your calls right after this. And welcome back. Ranny in Wadesboro, North Carolina, watching Free Speech TV on DirecTV. Hey, Ranny, what's on your mind today?
How you doing, Tom? Long time I haven't called, but I've been listening to you every day in the car and the television. So you had a good topic today. The lady just called about the plane. That happens. I know we fly to California, every once in a while, and you must get up and just, walk around a little bit, keep the blood circulation.
Yeah. Have you noticed, though, that over the years, the planes have gotten quieter and quieter?
Yes.
Or is this, am I just imagining something here?
Yeah, no, last time I flew, it was, it's like lady said, like you're talking to yourself.
Yeah.
But, anyway, Tom, it's good to speak to you again. I just saw something on, I think it was MSNBC or CNN, like the trip that Mr. President Trump, I'm going to call him president, when he takes the trip down to Lago, down in Florida, the weekend costs $3 million.
Right.
And for the meal on wheels, it costs $4 million a year.
Right.
Don't figure.
So, Randy, did I lose you?
No, yes. Well, like this budget bill they got, to me, it's ridiculous, man. And I don't understand these Republicans. They always doing something. I'm gonna say it on Free Speech TV. They're always doing something stupid.
Well, actually, if you look at it from the point of view of a greedy billionaire who has bought and paid for his Republican politician or her Republican politician, it actually doesn't seem so stupid, because if they can get their tax bill down to 15% or something like that, they get to save a lot more money. And they don't care if, working people have schools. They don't care if working people have health care. They don't care if working people have air that they can breathe. They're billionaires. They can always find a place to build another castle where they've got clean air, and, they can always bring in tutors for their kids and et cetera, et cetera. They're billionaires. They don't need you or me, and they don't need the rest of us. They're just, out for themselves. And if you look at the Republican Party as only representing the interests of the billionaires, then everything they're doing actually makes sense, Randy.
Right, that's true. Like Chris Hayes and Bernie Sanders. I enjoy Bernie. He was on. When I was in New York, I used to listen to your show every Friday. Just to hear Bernie.
Brunch with Bernie. Yeah.
Yeah, and they did a town hall in West Virginia, and all the people up there, they voted for Trump. Now they're the one that's going to be suffering. They are.
I watched it
with the black, with that black lung, with the coal.
Yep.
If this bill goes through, they're going to be screwed.
Yep. And it's amazing that the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, actually contains a provision that strengthens health care for the survivors and widows of black lung disease and for the victims of black lung disease. And all of those protections for miners who are suffering from the health consequences of working in the mines, all those protections are going to be torn apart with the Republican repeal of the Affordable Care Act. So coal country is going to be devastated by this. And that's just the healthcare portion of it. Then you do the Meals on Wheels and all the other the LIHEAP, the Low Income Heating Assistance Program. I mean, all of these programs, they're small. They represent, as you point out, Randy. I mean, Trump's weekly trips to Mar-a-Lago are actually large in comparison to some of these programs. Randy, thanks a lot for the call, and thanks for watching Free Speech TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And Eugene, listening on WGRN in Columbus, Ohio. Hey, Eugene, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I wanted to follow up on that smart meter conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I am an electrical engineer, and from what I've read about smart meters, their immediate health danger is that they are part of a mesh network in the neighborhood. So your smart meter will act as a relay for other neighbors' smart meters, getting to the final point in your neighborhood, which is attached to a power line or something.
Right, but they're using it. They're doing that because controlled carrier current, in other words, where you modulate a signal onto the actual 110 volt AC or 32,000 volt, whatever it is, going into and out of the transformer. That carrier current gets destroyed when the power hits a transformer. And so if you've got 5 or 6 homes working off one high voltage transformer, and then 5 or 6 homes over here working off another high voltage transformer, and you want to consolidate the data from the two of them, somehow one of those smartphones or smart meters has to talk to another one. But you're talking about relatively close distance. You're not talking about high levels of power. If you're talking about running it over the as carrier current over the 110 lines, it's super low power. I mean, it doesn't have to radiate out. It's literally right there in the power lines.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not so much a matter of whether it's low power or not. It's how it's pulsed. The frequency of that pulse can be averaged, and they can call it low power, but it's actually a fairly intense pulse, which I actually looked at with my graphical EN.
So how many milliwatts are you talking about?
How many? I'm sorry, volts?
How many milliwatts are you talking about?
Well, it's measured in volts per meter, and it's enough that it pegs my meter on the graphical scale.
At the point of the wire or at a distance? I mean, your radiation is going to decay off your wire at the reciprocal of the square. Every time
in our particular house, the meter's right outside the kitchen window,
right,
where we stand and prepare food a lot. And we don't have a smart meter, but we have a standard 2-way digital meter, which can be read from the bottom of our driveway by the meter reader who walks around the neighborhood. He doesn't have to come through our gate and deal with the dog and all that stuff. So what happens is our meter puts out a little pulse every 2 minutes that says, "Here I am, I'm alive," every 2 minutes or so. And it's a fairly highly intense pulse. I mean, it's not going to kill you, but we had a conversation with our utility about this, and they actually wanted to upgrade our meter to a cell phone interface to get more real-time data from our house because we have solar on our roof.
Right.
And they put that cell phone in, and that was causing a lot of data to go several times a day. And so they actually removed it when I requested they do so. But again, that was a special case because we're one of the few solar rooftops in the area. But anyway, I'm just saying some people may confuse smart meters with digital electronic meters, which do still put out a pulse, although not nearly as frequently as the so-called smart meters, which may be relaying some bit of information.
Right. Okay.
And smart meters are intended to get real time on an hourly basis, or maybe even 15 minutes.
No, I get that, and that's where I'm saying that basically, particularly these for-profit power companies are once again turning us into the product. If they can get information about us that they can sell to somebody about when we're awake, when we might be, for example, with your smart meter with these kind of powers, they could figure out when you're having dinner. when you're more likely to be sitting around and available to answer the phone. And they could sell that information to telemarketing companies. Oh, here's a list of telephone numbers of people who are home having dinner right now. And I don't think that they should be able to do that. I think that our right of privacy has been so distorted, turned inside out, from social media companies to the companies that we're buying stuff from, the Amazons of the world and everybody else, to now our power companies. And I think that this is an area where it's entirely appropriate for government to step in and say, if governments, about half the power companies in the United States are publicly owned, they're public utilities, that if they're doing that, there need to be absolute limits on the data they collect, and that data needs to be publicly available. And if private for-profit companies are doing it, the limits need to even be more stringent. And that is, I think, a reasonable function of government. Eugene, I got to move along, but thank you for the call. Dan in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hey, Dan, Shakespeare?
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Good.
I'm so happy to talk to you. You need to give your screener a raise or some kind of kudos. He completely focused me.
Okay. Nate is smiling widely.
Shakespeare is what we should be studying.
I don't disagree.
Well,
maybe King Lear?
That's one of them. Oh, you're getting a little personal there. You didn't know me that well, but yes.
Okay.
So, the Ides of March just passed.
Yeah.
And Julius Caesar.
Yeah.
Rome. Things were a little bit jittery in Rome, weren't they?
Et tu, Brute.
Also, I've been studying Macbeth. Scotland was kind of a nervous place also. So if we were used to that, we could think, well, we can get through this Trump thing.
Yeah, I don't disagree that people should study Shakespeare. I think it's a great one. Dan, thank you. Excellent suggestion. Betty in Renton, Washington. Hey, Betty, got a minute and a half till the top of the hour. What's up?
Hi, can you hear me?
Just fine.
Oh, good. Well, I just wanted to share that when I was walking over by the recruiters' offices for military, because my son is in the Marine Corps, and of course that makes me love all the Marines. And on the window, there's a real nice decal with a gun, a pistol on there. It says, "No weapons allowed here." And I thought, oh, that was easy for them to do. Why can't more people do that?
Right. Well, the NRA would like to put an end to that. A gun-free zone in the Marine Corps? Oh, my God, we can't have that.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I can't wait to tell my son. He's coming in from D.C. tonight.
Yeah.
He's a major, but he's in the reserves now, and he's only got 4 more years to go before he can get out. I hope he gets out sooner, though, because I'm scared for these wars and everything. Anyway, I love you, and I love the reading that you do at the beginning every day. I love those books.
Oh, thank you. Our book club, that we're doing. Thank you. Yeah, in fact, we're going to start adding new ones every day here pretty soon. We're trying to get through the Free Speech TV pledge drive, and then we'll have the time to do it. But Betty, thank you for the call, and thanks for your kind words, and thanks for listening to KBCS there in Renton, Washington. We will be back. It's Anything Goes Friday, and Lori Wallach is going to drop by in our third hour. But other than that, the day is open. It's just you and me. And boy, do we have some interesting stories here that we're going to be getting to as we continue through the day. Stick around.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com. Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the organic wine company, ecowine.com. The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242 or visit freespeechbeets.com. Welcome back. It's Friday. This is Thom Hartmann here with you, and it's it's the end of our first week on our fund drive, and our spring fund drive, I guess this would be, and membership drive. And yesterday we slid back a little. The day before yesterday, on Wednesday, we surpassed our $10,000 goal by $3,000, but yesterday I think we hit around $6,000. So special thanks and kudos and props and to those of you who called yesterday at 877-378-8669 and made a contribution. And thank you very much. And if you've donated at all this week, thank you so much. And there's still time to be part of the Free Speech TV family, to be part of a movement. I mean, the revolution starts here. It will be televised. If you help, if you support Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV, there is such a, we were talking with Katrina Vanden Heuvel, was it yesterday or the day before, on this program, and she was talking about how there needs to be a progressive, 24/7 progressive presence on cable TV. And Free Speech TV is growing into that right now. Free Speech TV is on cable systems all over the country, nowhere near the ubiquity of Fox or CNN, but we're getting there step by step, and we're getting there with your help. And that's an amazing thing. You look at this network, and it's come from basically nothing. I mean, it was a little network that was broadcasting in the Denver area. It started out and broadcasting documentaries and the guys who were running it, would sit there with VCRs and swap out the videos, to now a full-time, quite sophisticated television network. It's extraordinary, and it's because of you. So please call now. We're trying to hit our $10,000 goal today. 877-378-8669 with a $60 gift. Free Speech TV will send you a Free Speech TV water bottle. With a $120 gift, Free Speech TV will send you a copy of Sarah Van Gelder. She's the editor of Yes Magazine. They'll send you a copy of her new book, The Revolution Where You Live, stories from a 12,000-mile journey through a new America by Sarah Van Gelder. Sarah, the former editor of Yes Magazine, took this road trip and discovered America. And it's really a rather remarkable book. With a $150 contribution, you get both the book and the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. That's pretty cool stuff. With a $240 gift, you get the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, the Free Speech TV water bottle, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, all kinds of cool stuff. With a $360 gift, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV hand fan, and the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Washington, D.C., and we'll have a pizza party, and you're invited. So a lot of fun, and I learn a lot. I meet some great people, and, would love to meet you if you can make it to D.C. So those are the price levels, or the giving levels, I guess would be the correct phrase. And, the goodies that you can get by contributing to Free Speech TV, and invoking the name of our program. But more important is just keep Free Speech TV going. This network is
such a great thing. It is so important that free speech TV continue. So many of you I know, and I really, truly appreciate it, have been telling your friends and neighbors. I on Twitter and even an email, I get continuously a stream of people coming on saying, "Hey, a friend of mine told me about Free Speech TV, and I started watching, and now I'm totally hooked on Stephanie Miller, or I love your program, or Amy Goodman does news like there's no tomorrow, or whatever." I mean, it's just there's a bunch of other great programming on Free Speech TV too, and it's working. So let's keep the momentum going. Let's keep this thing working. And let's keep the electrons flowing into your home. So call now, 877-378-8669, whether you can only afford to give $10 or whether you can afford to give $10,000. It's all needed right now. And in fact, back, 4, 5, 6 months ago, I guess it was, somebody had left their will. They had left part of their estate to Free Speech TV, and then they passed on. And it was a six-figure gift. It was quite substantial. And, that's a possibility too. You can contact Free Speech TV and talk to them about that, about leaving something in your will or in your, however you do that, whatever the appropriate language is for Free Speech TV. So there's lots of things that can be done. But most important, right now, we've got to hit this budget. We need to, we absolutely need to pay the bills. And that's what's at stake here. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you so much for supporting Free Speech TV. We're here because of you. Thank you.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Now, this is fascinating. A Tennessee woman, she was at, apparently, it was at Donald Trump's event in Tennessee a couple nights ago, where he had all these, and there was actually, as I was watching this on both CNN and MSNBC, and I'm assuming it was played on Fox, Donald Trump was speaking to an adoring crowd, and I was wondering, where are the protesters? There was not a word about them, as if they didn't exist. Turns out there were thousands of them outside. And they didn't let them inside because this was not a presidential visit. This was a campaign visit. This was a campaign fundraiser, essentially. And so this poor woman, Charla McCormick, an unfortunate last name, MC Comic, who lives in Tennessee, her son lost his job, and his health insurance premium dropped from $567 a month, which he was paying when he had a job, to $88 a month. Now, why did that happen? Because her son is unemployed. He's now eligible for Medicaid or for a much larger subsidy under Obamacare. So Obamacare dropped his premiums from $567 a month to $88 a month. This poor 52-year-old former first-grade teacher believes that her son's premium went down when he lost his job because Donald Trump has reformed health care. Honest to God, I'm not making this up. She said, so far, everything's been positive from what I can tell. I just hope that more and more people and children get covered under this new health care plan. She said she's not worried about her 33-year-old son or their 3-year-old granddaughter. Trump has got everything under control, right? She said, we said, who else would we do this for besides Trump? She's talking about, making this whole trip and going to his camp, to his rally. We agreed on the Lord. We would stand here for the Lord, but that's about it. In other words, they would show up and cheer on Jesus Christ, but nobody else other than that or Donald Trump. And why Donald Trump? Because, hey, her son, when he lost his job, is paying a lot less for his health insurance, which is the Affordable Care Act that Trump wants to do away with. This is not a story of a stupid woman, right? This is a story of a woman who watches Fox News, I guarantee you. And Fox News is a cult. The whole right-wing hate radio thing, it's a cult. They have a set of beliefs, a belief system that organizes their thinking, a worldview through which they view absolutely everything, and it is not reality. It is grounded in a bunch of theories, an economic theory that the marketplace ultimately always takes care of everything. The marketplace is so much smarter than any human being should be. We should simply turn everything over to the marketplace. And, of course, there are those who essentially own the marketplace, the billionaires. Obviously, they're the smartest. You've got Donald Trump, who on dozens of different occasions has said that he's smart because he's got good genes. He's proposed the racehorse theory of humanity, that take a really fast racehorse, you breed it with another fast racehorse, you get a super fast racehorse. And he's like, you know, you take smart people and breed them with smart people, and you get really smart people like him. He has said over and over again, it's all, he was born with those brilliant brains. Now, if Donald Trump is an advertisement for eugenics, for weeding out of our gene pool the mentally defective among us, which is what eugenics was and what Hitler was all about, and frankly, America in the 1920s, when Donald's father, Fred, was refusing to rent to African Americans. If that's what it's all about, then, you know, we've got a serious problem. It's amazing. A couple of other things I wanted to share with you. I thought this was fascinating. I've told this story, but it's been a few years since I've talked about this on the air. Sarah Zimmerman is writing over at... what blog was this? It didn't print out the name of the blog. I'm very sorry, but I'm guessing you can find it fairly easily. I think if you just searched for "Dad receives coded text message from son," and basically what happened, he's a West Virginia father. His name is Bert Fulks, and he has come up with what he calls the X plan. And what it means is that if your kid sends you a text message with the letter X in it, nothing else, just the letter X, it means that your kid is expecting you to show up wherever they might happen to be in the next 5 or 10 minutes to rescue them. We went through this with our kids. We told all 3 of our kids, if you're ever in trouble, if you're in a situation that has gotten out of control, if you're ever in trouble, call us and just say to us, I want you to pick me up, no questions asked. And we will keep our end of that agreement. We will never ask you what was going on or why you wanted us to pick you up. You can tell us if you want, but you don't have to. We will pick you up and bring you home. No questions asked. And one of our kids actually made use of that when that particular child had been in a situation where they had taken something that they thought was just pot, and it wasn't. It was a whole lot stronger, and it totally freaked them out. And ended up back home pretty freaked out. And, we were able to deal with that, and we'd never, I'd have to ask Louise. I don't know if she ever had a conversation with one of our kids about that or not, but it really served us well. It provided our kids with a sense of safety and backstop. And so this guy's recommending that. And I want to, second that. Finally, U.S. Senators Debbie Stabenow, Gary Peters, and Congressman Dan Kildee, these are all Michigan Democrats, Michigan's 2 senators and one of its congressmen. Kildee represents Michigan's 5th. Today announced, this is from, news from Congress, today announced that the Environmental Protection Agency approved $100 million in emergency federal funding for Flint. And they're going to use this money to start replacing their water pipes. It's just a start, but it's coming via the EPA. They've made $51.5 million immediately available. And then there's $20 million that's supposed to come from the state, from the required state match, and $31 million that's going to come from federal funds, assuming that the Trump administration does not destroy the EPA. Now, that might be an unusually large assumption, but that's what they're assuming. So, you know, it's watching, again, I want to make this statement because I think it's true and it's important. When Mick Mulvaney is talking about, you know, the single mom in Detroit, he's lying to you. He's talking about the billionaires. When he's saying the single mom shouldn't have to pay for somebody else's kids' health care, he's talking about the billionaires shouldn't have to pay for it.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be back with your calls right after this. It's Anything Goes Friday. And welcome back. Drew in Kansas. Hey, Drew, what's on your mind today? Thanks for watching Free Speech on the Dish Network.
Hey, Tom, I wanted to talk about, we know that Trump is trying to turn this country back to the turn of the 19th century, you know, get child labor repealed and all that with the Constitution of Convention or
Convention of States, yeah.
Yeah. I actually wanted to add, going past that and stopping the dam from overflowing or the levee, so to speak, I want to mention to people what will inspire them to go further. And I would ask them to look at Noam Chomsky's political philosophy of libertarian socialism, as well as George Orwell's book, Homage to Catalonia, to see the potential that we can come to in society, getting rid of, you know, a problem in the homeless community as well, I would argue, which is wage slavery, and people not wanting to commit themselves to wage slavery that currently exists in our society. But we can get past Trump, and we can get past this and get to this point of going past wage slavery and getting into collectives and all of this. And I think it's a powerful idea, and I think I would strongly urge people to look at those two books. And I also wanted to give people a heads up. I don't know if you heard about Sky News and Rupert Murdoch.
No.
And the fact that he doesn't own Sky News yet, actually, the controlling shares.
Mm-hmm.
I just found this out. I thought, like most people, that he already owned controlling shares.
So did I.
And
what's the story?
It was Al Jazeera, which reported on it, English, which you can get on, anyone can get on the Roku, heads up. And another thing I found out that I didn't even realize, I was watching one of the Al Jazeera shows, and Trump basically can't get out of his own way in terms of giving himself good publicity or just leaving stuff alone, because apparently you've heard about the North Korea thing with in Malaysia and this whole conflict between each other.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't realize was apparently, and this was a former diplomat talking about it, they were detaining and holding people, for the diplomats, the Malaysian diplomats, still in North Korea. They weren't letting them leave after this. And I'm like, you can't buy this kind of bad publicity for North Korea. This is perfect. It makes them look bad all around. And now they're talking about putting this anti-missile defense system right now.
Right.
And
they're not just talking about it, they're doing it. They're installing those as we speak, Drew, and China is beside itself about it.
And it's making, you know, he's giving them good you know, he's sweeping the news cycle over for North Korea.
Yeah.
For crying out loud. It's absurd. And real quick, a heads up, when you're talking about the electricity, I can actually recommend two interesting books. There's one called Dirty Electricity, The Effect of Transient Electricity and the Damage It Can Do.
Mm-hmm.
It's very short. And another book is, since you're talking about the smart meter and privacy and how deep it goes with all these devices and cable boxes, there's a book called Totalitaria, which really gets into how invasive these things can get in terms of your privacy. And how it was like a DVR, one of these cable boxes can even measure, like some of the devices can measure like the size of your room, can get, you know, kind of a beat if you're in there. I mean, really like weird stuff that it can do, you know, to get an idea if you're there or not. Some really creepy stuff.
Yeah, and then sell that information to any telemarketer who wants it. I've noticed that the telemarketers who call I have a cell phone and it's got an old 503 number from when we lived in Oregon. And all of the telemarketers who call me are spoofing 503 numbers. And it's always, around 10 o'clock at night, which they assume is 7 o'clock on the West Coast. They think I'm on the West Coast. If they had more accurate information, they'd be more effective telemarketers. Drew, thank you for the call. Hey, Thom Hartmann.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242 or visit freespeechbeets.com.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Sean in Seattle, Washington. Hey, Sean, what's on your mind today?
Good morning. I got two things for you. One is that the transformer filters for carrier current allow certain frequencies to pass because the power companies use those to control their equipment. Mm-hmm. And then the other one's on topic. I heard on another radio station that one of the reasons why social media is so addictive is, say, like you're using Facebook. You read a Facebook post from one of your friends. It gives you a little dopamine reward, but it's not enough to be satisfying. And this sets up a thing where people are checking their phones 100 times a day trying to get another reward because it's never enough for them.
Right. Yep. How many people have liked my post? How many people have forwarded my post? How many people have shared my post? How many? Yeah. And it's addictive. It's addictive probably in the way that checking your bank account if you've got a big balance in there is addictive, or there's all these kind of collector behaviors, hoarding behaviors that all come out of dopamine also. Excellent point, Sean. Thanks for sharing that with us. I appreciate the call. Tony in Philadelphia. Hey, Tony, what's on your mind today?
Hey, how you doing, Tom?
Good.
Just like to start off by saying I'm a big fan of the show, big fan of your work and all that stuff.
Thank you.
I was like to speak to you about the shift gears a little bit here, if I will, about the current state of the Democratic Party we're in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm witnessing this a lot here in Philadelphia, where we're most certainly I'd say the definition of a blue collar working city, probably the last stronghold for organized labor in the country, if you will. I hear a lot of talk, about, the Trump presidency and, the world coming to an end and all. And believe me, I'm by no means a big fan about Donald Trump being in the executive office either here. But if one thing I learned through politics, presidents come and go, Congress is here to stay, if you will. Look, the take on, where I'm coming from with this, and a lot of people who think like me, blue collar construction workers, union workers, and all, is that we're all pointing the finger of, oh my God, Trump's in power, and all. But as Democrats, we're really not taking a look at what we did. You know what I mean? For him to get to this spot. I'm under the strong opinion that there's no one more responsible for Donald Trump being in office than Hillary Clinton herself. But getting away from that really is that we're really seeing the divide in the country where, I for one feel, and I know I'm not alone in this, that we feel that the Democratic Party has gotten strongly away from representing blue-collar, working class interest and has, entrenched themselves so much more in, kind of this Nancy Pelosi ideology. And, a lot of us feel lost. Like, I wouldn't say I'm one of them, but you can look at districts in Philadelphia where Democrats were, outnumbered Republicans 2-1, for example, but yet Republicans carried these districts.
Yeah.
Who's voting for them?
This is one of the Tony. Thanks for the call. This is one of the big debates inside the Democratic Party right now. Is do we go with identity politics, trying to forge a coalition of people based on their race, based on their sexual preference, based on their national origin, based on their religion, based on their gender preference? Do we try to build that coalition based on who people are? Versus do we try to build a Democratic coalition based on a set of economic values that were put forward by Franklin Roosevelt and Lyndon Johnson, that healthcare should be a right, that employment should be a right, that housing should be a right, that the government should be the employer of last resort, that the government should be the one who provides healthcare when, in a last resort situation, certainly, and maybe for everybody. Just a pure economic message. And, you can bring along a little bit of identity politics, but, it might bite you. And so just, let's just, and the reality is that I was talking with Larry Cohen, the CEO of Our Revolution, about this on television last night. And he was saying, Bernie is going to deliver the same message, whether his audience is white, black, brown, Muslim, Catholic, whatever. He's going to deliver the same message because we're all in this together at the level of economics. And I think personally that that's the way to do it. I think that, setting aside identity politics for the moment, minorities understand the differences between the Democratic and the Republican Party. And the Democratic Party doesn't need to make their entire sales pitch, we're friendly to black people, we're friendly to gay people. Because the Republican Party is out there aggressively saying that they're not. They don't want black people to vote. They don't want gay people to be out of the closet. They're just, they're just right out front about this. And it's one of the reasons that it troubles me that the DNC has just announced their 20 people for their transition team. And at least according to the Bold Progressives, that is the PCCC, the Progressive Change Campaign Committee, there's not a single, movement progressive in that group. They're all kind of just regular party insiders. And, I get continuity and keeping people in place who understand, where the light switches are and things like that. Clearly we didn't have that in the White House and we needed it. But I really think that if the Democratic Party wants to make a comeback, it's going to have to reach deep down inside and find those core values that Franklin Roosevelt governed by and Lyndon Johnson governed by, and that, frankly, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama campaigned on, but did not so much deliver on. And Barack Obama was obstructed in delivering, and Bill Clinton apparently was just not inclined to. In fact, was quite proud of the fact that he had ended big government as we know it. His phrase. And, I think it's time for us to say, for the Democratic Party to say, no, we are the party of government that can work. You can call that big government if you want. We are the party of government that can work for the people. That's why this country was founded. Those guys who fought in the Revolutionary War took their lives in their hands, and in the Civil War, and in World War I, and in World War II, and every other conflict, took their lives in their hands because they believed that a government that can work for the general welfare of its people is a desirable thing. And the Democratic Party's, for example, failure to be pushing single-payer health care right now is very troubling to me. I think that, it's not a good sign for future electoral victories. We'll be back.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
And I get the conventional wisdom, we need to be in the middle. Well, I'll tell you, the only thing in the middle of the road are yellow stripes and dead skunks. Welcome back. It's Friday. This is Thom Hartmann here with you, and it's it's the end of our first week on our fund drive, and our spring fund drive, I guess this would be, and membership drive. And yesterday we slid back a little. The day before yesterday, on Wednesday, we surpassed our $10,000 goal by $3,000, but yesterday I think we hit around $6,000. So special thanks and kudos and props and to those of you who called yesterday
at 877-378-8669 and made a contribution. And thank you very much. And if you've donated at all this week, thank you so much. And you know, there's still time to be part of the Free Speech TV family, to be part of a movement. I mean, you know, the revolution starts here. It will be televised if you help, if you support Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV, there is such a, you know, we were talking with Katrina Vanden Heuvel, was it yesterday or the day before, on this program, and she was talking about how there needs to be a progressive, 24/7 progressive presence on cable TV. And Free Speech TV is growing into that right now. Free Speech TV is on cable systems all over the country, nowhere near the ubiquity of Fox or CNN, but we're getting there step by step, and we're getting there with your help. And that's an amazing thing. You know, you look at this network, and you know, it's come from basically nothing. I mean, it was a little network that was broadcasting in the Denver area. It started out and broadcasting documentaries, and the guys who were running it, you know, would sit there with VCRs and swap out the videos, to now a full-time, quite sophisticated television network. It's extraordinary, and it's because of you. So please call now. We're trying to hit our $10,000 goal today. 877-378-8669 with a $60 gift. Free Speech TV will send you a Free Speech TV water bottle. With a $120 gift, Free Speech TV will send you a copy of Sarah Van Gelder. She's the editor of Yes Magazine. They'll send you a copy of her new book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through a New America by Sarah Van Gelder. Sarah, the former editor of Yes Magazine, took this road trip and discovered America. And it's really a rather remarkable book. With a $150 contribution, you get both the book and the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. That's pretty cool stuff. With a $240 gift, you get the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, the Free Speech TV water bottle, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, all kinds of cool stuff. With a $360 gift, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV hand fan, and the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Washington, D.C., and we'll have a pizza party. And you're invited. So a lot of fun, and I learn a lot. I meet some great people, and you know, would love to meet you if you can make it to DC. So those are the price levels, or the giving levels, I guess would be the correct phrase. And you know, the goodies that you can get by contributing to Free Speech TV, you know, and invoking the name of our program. But more important is just keep Free Speech TV going. This network is such a great thing. It is so important that Free Speech TV continue. So many of you I know, and I really, truly appreciate it, have been telling your friends and neighbors. I on Twitter and even an email, I get continuously a stream of people coming on saying, hey, a friend of mine told me about Free Speech TV, and I started watching, and now I'm, you know, totally hooked on Stephanie Miller, or I love your program, or, you know, Amy Goodman does news like there's no tomorrow, or whatever. I mean, it's just, I mean, there's a bunch of other great programming on Free Speech TV too. And it's working. So let's keep the momentum going. Let's keep this thing working. And let's keep the electrons flowing into your home. So call now, 877-378-8669, whether you can only afford to give $10 or whether you can afford to give $10,000. It's all needed right now. And in fact, back, 4, 5, 6 months ago, I guess it was, somebody had left their will. They had left part of their estate to Free Speech TV, and then they passed on. And it was a 6-figure gift. It was quite substantial. And, you know, that's a possibility too. You can contact Free Speech TV and talk to them about that, about leaving something in your will, or in your, you know, however you do that, whatever the appropriate language is for Free Speech TV. So there's lots of things that can be done. But most important, right now, we've got to hit this budget. We need to, we absolutely need to pay the bills. And that's what's at stake here. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you so much for supporting Free Speech TV. We're here because of you. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All the important stories we cover and the issues we care about are at hartmanreport.com. Members of our community can comment and join the conversation. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And Margaret in Aberdeen, Washington. Am I saying your name right?
Yes, you are. Thank you, Tom. And I agree. Your screener is one of the most polite and nicest people.
Yeah, Nate is a wonderful guy.
Yes,
he really is.
And what I was calling about, I had to chuckle in your first hour about your chess playing, because I learned to play chess at 14 years of age. And my first job was at a movie theater, and between showings, my manager taught me how to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been playing for 50 years. And it really does teach you the strategies and thinking 3 to 4 moves ahead. But still, there's lots of ifs and buts and entrapment.
Mm-hmm.
But the last couple of years I've been playing, it finally occurred to me, why is it that we are always sacrificing the queens and all the other men, pawns, bishops, for that one king that does nothing but avoid capture and can't do anything? We would sacrifice everything for the king.
That's a brilliant insight.
I just, thought about that. And also, you were talking about the coca leaf in Peru. And I was so fortunate to be able to go to Machu Picchu last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought one of the beautiful chess set with the conquistadors on one side and the Incas on the other, the llama and the stallion. And, it's just beautiful. But I did try that coca leaf because you're going 12,000 feet.
Right.
And every hotel, shop, or everywhere encouraged, especially travelers that aren't used to it. And I think that's the only thing that made me, enabled me to get up there.
Yeah, it helps people deal with altitude sickness.
Could not make it up those stairs.
Yeah.
Healthy people, because of the altitude sickness. And then my other last little thing about the technology. I still have a 6-year-old flip phone. And it's not because I'm not educated. When I first started out, I worked for high-tech companies. I worked for Verizon back when it was US West New Vector and the phones were the size of shoes. So it's like I know the technology. I just don't want to call it, I just don't want to be on it constantly. I wish they would go back in history and instead of BC as before Christ, it'd be BC before computers. Because everything has changed so much.
Yeah.
And you're right, people do not communicate because they're on those phones. Now, just because I don't have a smartphone doesn't mean I don't know how to use it. A lot of people I know don't have cars, but they know how to drive them. And the important thing is where to get your information, and that comes down to your values, and you have to choose what your values are as far as the information you receive. And as far as immigration, my last point, all cultures and peoples, most, except for the very greedy, everyone wants healthy food to eat. Number 2, everyone wants a warm place to sleep and raise their family. And number 3, everyone wants something purposeful and productive to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy your show. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Margaret. I think that you nailed it. It's excellent points all. Thank you so much. Trent in Parker, Colorado. Hey, Trent, what's on your mind today?
Thanks, Tom.
I just kind of wanted to clear something up. I actually happen to sell smart meter systems, and I am familiar with the system that Public Service in New Mexico is trying to put in.
Great. So give us the details.
Well, I was very impressed by the fact that you understand Powerline Carrier, how it works.
I'm an old ham radio operator. It's
okay.
Yeah.
So the system that they're putting in there actually has less radiation because it does use a hybrid system of Powerline Carrier and 900 megahertz, which is actually a very, very common frequency with baby monitors, cordless telephones, control systems for games. 900 megahertz is actually the most common out there. And,
Right. It's also low enough that it's not considered microwave. It's not, heats tissue frequencies. You've got to, I think you've got to get above, 1.5 gigahertz to get into that realm, maybe 2 gigahertz?
That is correct, where it actually causes heat and things such as your microwave. And the information that's out there, public utility commissions actually do not allow dissemination of customers' information, either metadata or otherwise, as part of their charter for providing electricity.
Right.
So they're not allowed to disseminate that. And
so why acquire it?
Understanding. It's actually the data that they're getting is actually for the health of their grid, to ensure that people are not overloading their transformers. They're able to actually, especially here in Colorado with marijuana grows and things like that, they may not upgrade their services, and then it's a safety issue. You get a big marijuana grow on your standard 200 amp service. You get that on 1 or 2 houses on a grid. You've just overloaded that transformer. Now you have a bomb sitting in your backyard.
Right.
So they're able to take that information, bring it in to be able to find problems on their system before it happens.
Right. So what you're saying here, Trent, is that when they design a system, they run high voltage into the neighborhood, let's say, or into the let's take a cul-de-sac, and into the cul-de-sac, and the dozen or so homes around that all share that, spread off one transformer. But let's say there's 10 homes that are sharing that transformer, and each one of those homes has 200 amp service. Let's say 100 amp service, because it's much more common. Each one of those homes has 100 amp service. That's, in 10 homes, that's 1,000 amps. But that transformer can't actually handle 1,000 amps. If every single home was to use the full amperage of, that is available to them, they would brown out the transformer. The transformer might be designed for 500, 600, 700 amps. On the assumption that most people are not using even half of the capacity that their house provides to them. They only use it during peak times. In the morning you take a shower, if you got an electric water heater, that's going to kick on. If you've got a cold winter and you're using electric heat or supplemental electric heat, that's going to kick in. There are times of the day when people do things, but you're looking for the outliers. Am I characterizing that right, Trent? Because if so, it makes perfect sense that you're doing what you're doing.
No, you've nailed it exactly. And, for some reason, utilities have been lumped in with evil government, and they think that anything they're doing is for nefarious acts, and it's actually just efficiency. People are so worried about their privacy. Me personally, I'd rather have my meter read remotely than having a human being standing in my backyard next to the meter, next to the window of my kid's room.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. Trent, thank you. Thank you for the information. And, hopefully it'll allay some concerns. Appreciate the call. Marianne, it's not as sexy as conspiracy theories, but it's... Anyhow, no, not Marianne, Maine in Chicago. Hey, Maine, what's on your mind today?
All right. How you doing, Professor? I got a couple issues here. One of them is you're right about the Democrats needing to go for single-payer health care at this time when Trump is trying to abolish
Obamacare, yeah.
Care Act. Yeah, and that we need that we need a candidate who's not beholden to Wall Street but to Main Street.
Yep.
And that they'll go for the people's first. Now, I was once talking about the People's Party, but when I say that, people would think that I'm talking about, say, the Black Panthers, but I'm not talking about the Black Panthers. Even though if we have to say the All People's Party. In other words, we including all and whosoever into this party, in order to push our candidate, like the Tea Party pushed their candidates. And another thing, this is what I come into, like, getting rid of the Electoral College. Because how can, you vote for someone like Hillary had nearly 3 million votes over Trump, but yet their votes didn't count.
Yeah,
So,
it's... No, you're right, Maine, and this has happened 5 or 6 times now in American history, and it should never have happened, and it needs to be fixed. I'm totally with you. Maine, thanks a lot for the call. Very well said. We'll be back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Back with more of your calls after this on Anything Goes Friday. Welcome back. Johanna in Clinton, Massachusetts. Am I saying your name right?
That's Johanna, but
Johanna.
Got it.
Great.
Hi, yeah. Thank you so much for taking my call, and thank you. I listen every day, and there's a million different topics I could ask about, but I wanted to talk about the adrenaline rush from social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you have a skydive under your belt.
3 of them.
But I
yeah.
3? Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, I broke my back on the 3rd one.
Ooh, yeah, that's not good. I have just over 1,300 skydives, and started about 16 years ago, before Facebook, before YouTube, before GoPros and video equipment was so readily available that you could just land and literally post it online.
Right.
And we know that skydiving obviously is super dopamine, very, very much of an adrenaline rush, and very addictive.
Yep.
As it was for me. But what I've found through the years, since the rise of social media and the ease of getting video and having your own video camera on your head and, just so easily, is that people became so focused on the camera and so focused on, not all people, but a lot of new students especially too, because they were new to it. They become so focused on the camera that they would forget about gear checks. They would forget about pole slots. They would, be so focused. There was one guy that was so focused on turning his camera on in the plane that he forgot to check his chest strap that happened to be done improperly. And he's very fortunate that he was able to deploy without coming out of his harness.
Right.
Now, what I see on Facebook from a lot of my skydiving friends is, the videos out there as soon as they land. Students that aren't necessarily doing well in their progression are posting great great pictures of them landing and, all smiles when they're, being dangerous in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm wondering is, are they getting the same rush from posting about it as they do in the sky, or are they taking on experiences so they can post about them and get that rush?
That's an interesting question. Have you ever known somebody who's hyperlexic who just can't stop talking?
Yes.
That's a dopamine defect also. That's the consequence of a person not having enough dopamine. And what they find is that when they talk, when they share things that are important to them with other people, that jacks their dopamine. And I'm wondering if that is, and it's called hyperlexia, from the Latin, too much speaking. And I'm wondering if compulsive posting is kind of a variation on hyperlexia.
Ooh.
That, people are doing it in anticipation of the approval that they're going to get, that's going to jack their dopamine, like you said.
Well, and I could say just from personal experience, I've seen a lot of people that post a lot more posts than they actually skydive.
Right.
So, you can make a lot of skydives and maybe post here and there. You can make a lot of posts about skydive and make a jump here and there.
Right. So maybe they're getting the 90% jolt from the jump. They're getting the 20% jolt from the posting, but that's enough for some people.
Right, and then they're getting the approval of the people that don't know what they're doing. They think, wow, it's really, really
right,
cool.
Which is another 30% jolt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And actually, why did you break your back on your third skydive?
I landed on the runway instead of the pea gravel. I was using an old 1945 training chute, and so you come down really, really hard. And when I hit the runway, I thought I was still a foot above it, and my knees just gave out, and I sat down right on my butt, and instead of rolling, and it crushed my fourth lumbar vertebrae. So anyhow, Johanna, thanks a lot for the call. Great to hear from you. What a story. We'll be back. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. We are anticipating that Patrick Gavin from Talk Media News will call in and share the news with us today, but he hasn't called in yet. So Elaine in Long Island, New York. Hey, Elaine, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. I was just listening to all your callers. They're so interesting with skydiving and going to Machu Picchu. I hope that my interesting share won't be that boring. Basically, in the late 80s and early 90s, I would tune into the Sunday news shows like a lot of people would do to catch up on the news of the week. But I noticed an uneasy feeling and a change of my emotional state when I watched Brit Hume on Fox News, so I stopped watching it right away. And then I only watched the other two shows, which is This Week, I think, that was on, and Meet the Press. I only watched them occasionally. Well, remembering a caller, David, on your Monday show, I can understand why a lot of us call Fox News cult-like, because in the early 70s, members of what I found out later on was the Reverend Moon's people came to my house. I was 17 years old and home alone that day. My mom always was a working mom, but she wasn't home that day. They played on that, and they tried to tell me that they would never leave me alone if I would come with them.
Oh, my.
I promptly told them to leave my house. Yeah, it was scary in a way, but I had enough guts, which I got from my mom, to tell them to leave and that I would never leave my mother. And thankfully, they left without any problems. And for years now, because of what happened on Fox, by watching Fox and different TV shows, I've been unplugged. My husband and I do not watch any cable network television at all. At all. I only watch progressive internet-based shows such as Free Speech, and the diversity of the shows on Free Speech TV are awesome. And they're united in the one message of free will and freedom of thought. And that's what I wanted to say. It's just a cool thing that we have the internet to be able to share with each other. But and one personal note, Facebook, what that lady was saying, true. Everything is true. It's everything that all those games on Facebook,
right.
They're awful. They're like mind controlling things too. Did you know that one of them even wanted you to spend real money?
Oh, sure. Yeah, they're monetizing those things too. Elaine, I've got to move along because Patrick Gavin is on the line, but I spot on. Excellent point. Elaine, thank you for the call and thanks for sharing your story with us. Patrick, hang on just a second here. For some reason, there we go. My software's not behaving right. Patrick Gavin with Talk Media News on the line, brought to you by the goatsfortheoldgoat.com. Patrick, what's happening in the world today?
Well, some good news for Republicans today, a little bit for their efforts to repeal and replace Obamacare. This morning, Trump met with some conservative members of the House who had, raised some concerns previously about the GOP's American Health Care Act. It seems as if that meeting went well. They sort of at least put on a good face and said that a lot of the conservatives that in that group that had not supported in the past, he said 100% on board. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but it's a nice sounding number as well. Tom Price also met with some House Republicans in a closed door meetings. That meeting seemed to do well. What we're hearing now is a vote on Thursday is likely, and it does seem as if, especially now that we kind of have a definitive answer to how much of his political capital is the president going to put behind this. It seems to be now that he is willing to sort of put his neck out there, that it is, likely to pass the House, but the Senate, as you know, is a much different beast, and there are a lot of folks in the Senate, including most notably moderate Republicans, who still, Susan Collins is a great example. She said, "quote, this is not a bill I would support in its current form." So, the real question is going to be for those moderate Republicans, both in the House as well, who've been meeting with Paul Ryan privately, making it clear that this could upend their midterm election and could cost Republicans control of the House for some of these moderates. But it will be, I think all eyes right now at least are on the Senate. There seems to be a bit of momentum in the House to get this thing done by Thursday of next week.
Yeah. What I don't understand, Patrick, is what is conservative about cutting taxes by $860 billion and cutting benefits to working people by almost $1 trillion. Is it called conservative because it involves cutting taxes for people who earn over $250,000? Is that the definition of conservative these days?
I mean, I think it is, and I think that part of the problem is that one of the things that I think moderate Republicans are trying to, moderate and conservative Republicans are trying to tweak in the bill is that tax credit structure. I mean, one of the things that the bill's gotten a lot of flack for is its tax credit for the healthcare executives, which seems as if that would be a no-brainer to scrap that, just from a PR perspective, even if it ends up being a drop in the bucket cost-wise. From a PR perspective, that seems to be it. But, like Charles Krauthammer had a really good point in his piece today, which is, it's very hard to take away things once people have it. And I think that's what a lot of Republicans are kind of coming to grips with. So much of this really is, sadly, not about policy. It's about politics. It's that these folks want to be able to go home and say that, hey, we've been barking about Obamacare for 7 years as of yesterday, and we want to be able to say that we did it. But, I mean, they realize that actually changing health care is a huge, huge thing. And this is the best that they can come up with. But I think in reality, what's conservative about it is that it's not Obamacare.
Yeah, which means it's not conservative, it's political. But anyhow, so what else is going on in the world, Patrick?
Well, the other big thing is, as you know, Donald Trump's proposed budget that he put out yesterday did not get a great response from a lot of Capitol Hill Republicans who, of course, love to remind presidents that they're the ones who control the purse strings. But even Republicans like Ed Royce, the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, had a lot of criticisms about how it reduces some counterterrorism objectives. Even the New York Police Department said yesterday that Trump's spending plan would gut critical counterterrorism efforts and actually make the city less safe. So the budget is obviously a outlining of Trump's philosophy and objectives. What's interesting is, and this I imagine this argument will gain a lot more strength going forward, but that his budget would actually cut a lot of services that directly aid his base. Right. And I don't know, he sort of alluded to this a little bit in his interview this week with Tucker Carlson, but it sort of dismisses it by saying, well, we'll negotiate this stuff. But, a lot of this stuff does, these department cutbacks and service cutbacks, a lot of these folks are, not all of them obviously, but Trump supporters, and that's going to be a really, I think, difficult thread for the president to make to his constituents about how, why exactly he's doing this.
Yeah, I mean, the sales pitch, Reagan's sales pitch is we're going to cut the benefits to those lazy black people. He was pretty explicit about it, his whole welfare queen story and other things like that. And but they didn't do the radical benefit cuts. They did the tax cuts, but the radical benefit cuts, actually, most of those happened under Clinton, with Newt Gingrich. But I don't think that kind of rhetoric is going to work anymore.
Right. I agree.
It's hitting white people just as much as black people, probably more so, given that they're just a larger percentage of the population. How does Trump crawl out from underneath that? Reagan could get away with it because there was no social media back then.
Well, both of these issues, both the budget and Obamacare, they're issues that sort of escape the Beltway loophole, which is that, they have real effects for people back home. And, it's not like... these are probably terrible examples, but it's not like, gay marriage or abortion where, people, that might not affect you. But this stuff does affect you. And I think
you're
people
right.
at the end of the day care about their purse strings.
Patrick, we're out of time. But thank you. Patrick Gavin with Talk Media News.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com. Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com. The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242 or visit freespeechbeets.com. Welcome back. It's Friday. This is Thom Hartmann here with you, and it's it's the end of our first week on our fund drive, and our spring fund drive, I guess this would be, and membership drive. And yesterday we slid back a little. The day before yesterday, on Wednesday, we surpassed our $10,000 goal by $3,000, but yesterday I think we hit around $6,000. So special thanks and kudos and props and to those of you who called yesterday at 877-378-8669 and made a contribution. And thank you very much. And if you've donated at all this week, thank you so much. And there's still time to be part of the Free Speech TV family, to be part of a movement. I mean, the revolution starts here. It will be televised. If you help, if you support Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV, there is such a, we were talking with Katrina Vanden Heuvel, was it yesterday, the day before, on this program, and she was talking about how there needs to be a progressive, 24/7 progressive presence on cable TV. And Free Speech TV is growing into that right now. Free Speech TV is on cable systems all over the country, nowhere near the ubiquity of Fox or CNN, but we're getting there step by step, and we're getting there with your help. And that's an amazing thing. You look at this network, and it's come from basically nothing. I mean, it was a little network that was broadcasting in the Denver area. It started out and broadcasting documentaries and the guys who were running it, would sit there with VCRs and swap out the videos, to now a full-time, quite sophisticated television network. It's extraordinary, and it's because of you. So please call now. We're trying to hit our $10,000 goal today. 877-378-8669 with a $60 gift. Free Speech TV will send you a Free Speech TV water bottle. With a $120 gift, Free Speech TV will send you a copy of Sarah Van Gelder. She's the editor of Yes Magazine. They'll send you a copy of her new book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through a New America by Sarah Van Gelder. Sarah, the former editor of Yes Magazine, took this road trip and discovered America. And it's really a rather remarkable book. With a $150 contribution, you get both the book and the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. That's pretty cool stuff. With a $240 gift, you get the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, the Free Speech TV water bottle, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, all kinds of cool stuff. With a $360 gift, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV hand fan, and the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Washington, D.C., and we'll have a pizza party, and you're invited. So a lot of fun, and I learn a lot. I meet some great people, and, would love to meet you if you can make it to D.C. So those are the price levels, or the giving levels, I guess would be the correct phrase. And, the goodies that you can get by contributing to Free Speech TV, and invoking the name of our program. But more important is just keep Free Speech TV going. This network is
such a great thing. It is so important that Free Speech TV continue. So many of you I know, and I really, truly appreciate it, have been telling your friends and neighbors. I on Twitter and even an email, I get continuously a stream of people coming on saying, hey, a friend of mine told me about Free Speech TV, and I started watching, and now I'm totally hooked on Stephanie Miller, or I love your program, or Amy Goodman does news like there's no tomorrow, or whatever. I mean, it's just, there's a bunch of other great programming on Free Speech TV too, and it's working. So let's keep the momentum going. Let's keep this thing working, and let's keep the electrons flowing into your home. So call now, 877-378-8669, whether you can only afford to give $10 or whether you can afford to give $10,000. It's all needed right now. And in fact, back, 4, 5, 6 months ago, I guess it was, somebody had left their will. They had left part of their estate to Free Speech TV, and then they passed on. And it was a six-figure gift. It was quite substantial. And, that's a possibility too. You can contact Free Speech TV and talk to them about that, about leaving something in your will, or in your, however you do that, whatever the appropriate language is for Free Speech TV. So there's lots of things that can be done. But most important, right now, we've got to hit this budget. We need to, we absolutely need to pay the bills. And that's what's at stake here. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you so much for supporting Free Speech TV. We're here because of you. Thank you.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Interesting. Just looking at the conversations in our chat room, and I was talking about Uber drivers not being loquacious like they used to be, and this person said, well, I'm an Uber driver, and I always wait for the passenger to signal that they want to have a conversation. I think that was sort of my point, is that people are getting in the back of the car and immediately going to their phone because they're addicted to it. And we used to reach out to other human beings to get that little buzz that you get from interacting with other human beings, for that human contact. And now we're getting a concentrated version of it, an electronically moderated and modulated form of reality that is apparently changing the way our brains work and the way that we react to things. And technology changes people. Television has changed us substantially. The generation before television is very different than the generation that was born after television became ubiquitous in the United States in the 1950s, in the late 1950s. And I think that there are very real and measurable differences. And now we've got this generation growing up on computers and on tiny interactive screens. And how are they going to be different from the television generation? And what does this mean for the future of the planet? I don't know. But it's a fascinating question, an absolutely fascinating question. Another one that I've been kind of saving up to share with you. I thought this was the most fascinating thing. Last year, this is the headline is, this is from BBC. The headline is, Harvard physicists just proposed that mystery radio bursts are powering alien ships. And maybe it's not BBC, maybe it's BEC. It says BEC crew. Of all the unexplained things in our universe, fast radio bursts are arguably the weirdest. They're some of the most elusive and explosive signals ever detected in space. While they last mere milliseconds, a millisecond is a 1,000th of a second, they generate as much energy as 500 million suns. Last year, researchers found 16 fast radio bursts, all coming from the same source beyond our Milky Way. And now Harvard physicists are proposing that signals like these could be evidence of an advanced alien technology. And here's what they think they're doing with them. They think that they're building giant sailing ships for interstellar travel, and that they throw this super intense radio burst at the sail, which then propels the ship. That what we're seeing here when we see the remnants of these super fast radio bursts is that, you know, there are 2,000 of these things, by the way, lighting up the universe every single day. We've known about them since 2007. And now we found a repeating one, FRB-11, high-energy radio bursts, all coming from a signal source way out in the distant universe. Earlier this year, 6 more FRBs were detected coming from the same location. And researchers managed to pinpoint their location to a faint dwarf galaxy more than 3 billion light years from Earth, which means we're getting messages that are 3 billion years old. But, you know, nobody, they tried to come up with natural solution, you know, natural causes for this. You know, why would this be happening? There must be some natural reason. Can't come up with one. Maybe, you know, it's like, it's sort of like, you know, people detecting or seeing the sails of sailing ships coming over the horizon going, whoa, what's that? Can you imagine the people who, you know, when Captain Cook came to Murderers Bay in Australia and met the first Aboriginal people, and, you know, can you imagine how they would look out at that ship and go, whoa, what's that? Maybe we're seeing the same thing. Leonard in South Pasadena, California. Hey, Leonard, what's on your mind today?
Oh, fine, sir. I'm doing all right. I just want to let people know that on April 4th, Arturo Carmona, who's a Bernie guy, he's Bernie Sanders' national deputy political director for Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign, is running for Congress on April 4th. There seems to be an opening, and he's running against some pretty greedy guy.
Who's he running against?
He's running against this gentleman named Jimmy Gomez, who was, I guess some of his donors are Monsanto and private prisons and such.
Is he running against another Democrat or against a Republican?
Well, there's like, at this point, there's 23 people running.
Right. Okay, so so they haven't had the top 2 primary?
The only 2 people that I know of right now is Arturo and Jimmy Gomez. Jimmy Gomez, I think, is probably leading the pack right now with all his billions.
Right. Oh, interesting. All right, Leonard, I don't know enough about this race to really comment on it, but, you know, thanks for the heads up. I'll see what I can learn from it. Thank you for the, you know, and so the special election in April is a primary election, right? Or is this
I think it's more of the primary, and then the big one, I think, is in June or something like that.
Okay, great. Okay, Leonard, thank you for the information. Eric in Erie, Pennsylvania. Hey, Eric, what's on your mind today?
Hey, happy Friday to you, Tom.
Thanks. Back at you, Eric.
Listen, I'm wondering, first question, have you seen what the Dueling Sams put up on the District Sentinel a couple days ago about this congressional change in the rule to drug testing people on unemployment?
Yes. In fact, we talked about it on the radio, I think on Tuesday, that it's not just drug tests, that employers now can do genetic testing. And they can look at your genes and say, okay, this person has a tendency towards schizophrenia or a tendency towards, certain types of cancer. So, they're going to be more expensive for us to insure, so we need to get rid of this person.
Right. I'm talking about those on unemployment benefits.
Oh, I see.
That part of it. Did Sam talk about that?
No. Tell me about it.
Okay, well, what they've done is that they had negotiated with Tom Perez a compromise in order for the Democrats to get the extension of unemployment benefits. They had to acquiesce to allowing drug testing of people collecting unemployment, but they fought to limit it to people in vocations that normally do drug testing anyway, and that was the compromise. Now,
that's not unreasonable.
What's that?
I said that's not unreasonable. So if you're training truck drivers,
right.
They're going to be subject to drug tests, so you just drug test them during training. Sure.
Where safety's an issue, nobody could really argue common sense against that. But now this is wide open on everybody, and we're talking about people who are, they're already downtrodden by being unemployed and seeking employment.
Right.
The problem is going to become more testing, a wider program, a wider net, catching more people. there's going to be a cost pressure in a cost-cutting Republican government, and that'll be reflected in the quality of the testing. So we're seeing people comment on Facebook at the District Sentinel about this is, cruel and it's mean-spirited and things like that. No one's asking about what is the quality of the testing going to be.
Right.
And I'm here to tell you, as a living example, they will contract with somebody privately who will skip key steps to the drug testing protocol. They'll then report what is only a preliminary screen phase result, and the person getting accused, what resource do they have to fight that? And this will be in their permanent record seeking employment forever.
Yeah, that's remarkable. Eric, thanks a lot for the call. We'll have to keep this on our radar screens. I mean, it's a big one. Lori Wallach is going to join us in 4 minutes when we rejoin our commercial stations. We're hitting a break here right now where our commercial stations are going away. And when we come back, Lori Wallach with Public Citizen and Global Trade Watch and Public Citizen, all that is going to be with us. Stick around.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be back in just a few minutes with Lori Wallach. Stick around. And while our commercial affiliates are on break, we're still live on Free Speech TV, Pacifica, American Forces Network, etc. So Ginny, watching Free Speech TV in Jerry, New York. Hey, Ginny, what's up?
Hi, Tom. It's wonderful to talk to you. I wanted to talk about social media.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm on Facebook, and I have an environmental group called Environmental Hub. We have over 1,000 members. And I believe that if not for Facebook and for these groups, we wouldn't organize in the streets. Now, we are environmental awareness, so petitions, posts, and everything. But the whole thing is that we organize, and then you bring that energy from Facebook out onto the street.
Right.
Do you agree?
Yeah, social media has been a big driver of social movements. Absolutely.
And not everybody plays games. That's a matter of self-discipline.
Yeah.
I don't play Candy Crush. I hardly even post food. Well, I do post food because I have another group called Slow Food Hub.
Uh-huh.
But other than that, I work with environmental awareness. And yesterday, of course, our hair was caught on fire after we heard Spicer say that they do not want to spend any money. But that's another point I want to make. And if this would be of help to anybody, we have elected an abuser. He's a sexual abuser, and he's also a emotional abuser. So he uses verbal abuse, and he is verbally abusing our country right now.
Yeah.
And if we would realize that, we should realize that a lot of what Spicer says, a lot of what they say, is just blowing air here at us and scaring us.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree at all, Jenny. I think you said it very well. Thanks for the call. Thanks for watching Free Speech TV. Bobo in Denver, Colorado. Hey, Bobo, what's up?
Yeah, just a poor victim of the old being a Vietnam-era veterans. When we arrived from Vietnam, we were the victims of Hanoi Jane Fonda, who was, against us and invoking these individuals to want to spit on us and call us baby killers and a lot of things. When we arrived from Vietnam, it was a very horrible time in our life, which TV and movies protest, for over 25 years, we were the stereotyped as psychotic individuals of many different.
Bobo, I was alive during that time. I don't recall this, and to the best of my knowledge, there's not a single documented case of any returning Vietnam veteran being spit on or called names.
Okay.
At least in a public venue.
Yes, well, that's the way it went. We were still depicted as bad people on TV.
Well, Lieutenant Calley didn't help any, but I said Lieutenant Calley didn't help any, but I think most Americans had a lot of empathy for Vietnam veterans. You all were exposed to Agent Orange. You were there in an illegal war that Lyndon Johnson lied us into with the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. It was not a good thing, and I You know,
was not.
frankly, I thought Jane Fonda was out there saying, "Bring our boys home." That was her entire message, that she was trying to support you.
I know that, you know, a lot of people felt that, but there were the protesters, even today, you know, go have your medals rescue you, use your medals.
Okay. Bobo, thanks a lot for the call, and thanks for watching Free Speech TV. We'll be back with Lori Wallach in just a second. Stick around. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and on the line with us is Lori Wallach, the director of Public Citizens Global Trade Watch. TradeWatch.org is the website. You can tweet her at Wallach Lori, WALLACHLORI, or at PCGTW, as in Public Citizens Global Trade Watch. Lori, welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much. Live from O'Hare Airport.
Oh, my. Okay, great. It's great to have you on. It's always great having you on. So this is the anniversary, more or less, this week or last week, the 5-year anniversary of the Korea Free Trade Deal. Do I have that right?
March 15th, this Wednesday was.
Okay, so how has that worked out for us?
Well, it is remarkably bad. We were sold that one with the promise that it was new rules with high environmental and labor standards, which would mean more exports, more jobs. That was the slogan. 5 years later, our exports have actually declined. The U.S. is selling less stuff by 10% to Korea, and brace yourself, our trade deficit with Korea has doubled in 5 years.
Wow.
Sadly, that is a free trade agreement record, a record of badness.
Right. So why is it that most Americans don't know this?
Well, especially why don't they know it, given if you plug those numbers, the actual increase in the trade deficit numbers, and this is the government data, into the formula that the Obama administration used to promise us we gain 70,000 jobs from this deal after 5 years, it's over 100,000 jobs gone, just using their own formula.
Wow.
So why don't we know more about it? Well, the Obama folks sure weren't happy to talk about it because it was basically a rabid skunk of an agreement, and it is to some degree responsible for not being able to get the majority of votes on TPP.
Right.
Because a lot of members of Congress, Democrats, voted for this one. Obama said it was the new thing. He'd fix NAFTA. And then it turned out to just be a total failure. Yeah. And members of Congress, Democrats who voted for this said, learn my lesson, not doing it again on TPP. And TPP was based, Tom, on literally the Korea tax was offered as the U.S. opening tax. Now, why aren't we hearing about it now is the question, though, right? Like, you remember, I remember, then candidate Trump had a line in there, the, quote, job-killing trade deal with South Korea.
Right. Why doesn't he nuke?
Double deficit.
Does he have the ability as president to nuke that deal right now, or does that require Congress?
He can withdraw from that deal on 6 months written notice from the executive branch.
Okay.
And we're out of a lot of parts of it. But here's what's really fishy. The guy was so negative on the deal that folks might remember when he did his, if you have the stomach to watch it, when he did his Republican convention acceptance speech, he even mentioned the Korea agreement in there with NAFTA and the other thing he hasn't done, putting sanctions against China on the first day for manipulating its currency. So why suddenly has the administration gone flat out silent on Korea? I mean, at least on China, he keeps saying the same old stuff, even though other people in his administration are saying they're not going to do anything about it. On Korea, they've just gone radio silent. And here is my theory. It comes to pass that while he's been talking a good game on Korea on the campaign, he picked to be the special assistant to the president for trade right in the White House, this guy named Drew Quinn, who is the sort of bipartisan overtime biggest cheerleader for the Korea Free Trade Agreement ever. The man was in on the negotiations during the Bush administration.
How did Peter Navarro let that happen?
Well, very good question. He was in on negotiations, this guy Drew Quinn. His full name's Andrew Quinn. He was the economic counselor in the U.S. Embassy in Korea during negotiations. There's this great quote of him saying in 2009, "This is the best deal ever." Then President Obama inherited it and renegotiated part of it. And the guy literally was one of the guys leading, now in a Democratic administration, the team to pass it in Congress. Then he went to U.S. Trade Representative's office where, yes, he rose to be the deputy in charge of TPP, the agreement that was based on the Korea Agreement. So the man is a three-administration, all-Korea FTA cheerleader. And that guy comes in, and suddenly it's radio silence on this agreement that, as you said, the president currently has the authority to just end. And given the trade deficit has doubled since we got into it, our trade with Korea exports has declined. This one really is a pretty good case of an agreement you wouldn't want to keep going forward with.
Do you think he's unwilling to rattle our relationship with South Korea right now, given the bizarre behavior coming out of North Korea? Could there be some real politic to this that actually makes sense?
Well, you know, it makes me hope to God that that is the case, because that's the kind of thinking you'd really want to have a president take into consideration. As much as I don't like that Korea agreement, any sane person is extremely unnerved about what's going on in North Korea, and also South Korea has been in a state with their president getting impeached.
Right.
So
they're in a crisis.
One would hope that is the consideration. But here's the deal. If that were the consideration, then you wouldn't take any action. But you would still be mentioning the agreement as one that is problematic. And I find it just very peculiar that from the White House, there's been radio silence. Now, interestingly, from the incoming U.S. Trade Representative, a guy named Bob Lighthizer, who's a smart guy, been a good guy for American manufacturing, and he has been held up right now. His approval in Congress is held up, but he testified last week. He mentioned Korea as one of the big trade deficits. But the president, who's really had the bully pulpit on this, who talks about trade all the time, has just stopped talking about it.
You wonder if there's a Trump property in Korea?
I actually think probably the property in question is Mr. Drew Quinn, Korea booster, the new staffer, who is, you know, doors down from the Oval Office. He's in the White House staff.
So he's the guy, he's the pro-Korea guy. So when should we check back and find out if they're going to follow up on any of Trump's campaign rhetoric, or whether they're just going to let that die?
Well, you know,
probably after the election in South Korea. That's in June, isn't it? May or June?
Here's what I think about the Korea situation. I think we should watch when the USTR, Mr. Lighthizer, actually gets in the saddle to see what they do. Because there's plenty to do without actually chucking a brick at Korea. I mean, you know, this is Lighthizer's the guy who during the Reagan administration had a sort of come to Jesus session with Japan saying, listen, we're not going to continue with this trade deficit we've got going here in the 80s. There are two ways we're going forward. We're either going to sanction you unilaterally, or you guys need to figure out how either A, you're going to buy more of our stuff, or B, you're going to send us less stuff. You can do it either way, but the balance isn't going to stick. And he negotiated a deal. So let's see. But what we will have to watch, Tom, is in the next couple of weeks whether or not they announce China as a currency manipulator. Hard deadline on that is coming up around the corner, and they're trying to dodge it.
That's great. Lori Wallach, it is always great talking to you, Lori. Thank you so much.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Lori's website is tradewatch.org. Check it out. And you can tweet her at Wallach, W-A-L-L-A-C-H, Lori, L-O-R-I. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Friday. This is Thom Hartmann here with you, and it's it's the end of our first week on our fund drive, and our spring fund drive, I guess this would be, and membership drive. And yesterday we slid back a little. The day before yesterday, on Wednesday, we surpassed our $10,000 goal by $3,000, but yesterday I think we hit around $6,000.
So special thanks and kudos and props and to those of you who called yesterday at 877-378-8669 and made a contribution. And thank you very much. And if you've donated at all this week, thank you so much. And you know, there's still time to be part of the Free Speech TV family, to be part of a movement. I mean, you know, the revolution starts here. It will be televised if you help, if you support Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV, there is such a, you know, we were talking with Katrina Vanden Heuvel, was it yesterday or the day before, on this program, and she was talking about how there needs to be a progressive, 24/7 progressive presence on cable TV. And Free Speech TV is growing into that right now. Free Speech TV is on cable systems all over the country, nowhere near the ubiquity of Fox or CNN, but we're getting there step by step, and we're getting there with your help. And that's an amazing thing. You know, you look at this network, and you know, it's come from basically nothing. I mean, it was a little network that was broadcasting in the Denver area. It started out and broadcasting documentaries, and the guys who were running it, you know, would sit there with VCRs and swap out the videos, to now a full-time, quite sophisticated television network. It's extraordinary, and it's because of you. So please call now. We're trying to hit our $10,000 goal today. 877-378-8669 with a $60 gift. Free Speech TV will send you a Free Speech TV water bottle. With a $120 gift, Free Speech TV will send you a copy of Sarah Van Gelder. She's the editor of Yes Magazine. They'll send you a copy of her new book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through a New America by Sarah Van Gelder. Sarah, the former editor of Yes Magazine, took this road trip and discovered America. And it's really a rather remarkable book. With a $150 contribution, you get both the book and the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. That's pretty cool stuff. With a $240 gift, you get the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, the Free Speech TV water bottle, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, all kinds of cool stuff. With a $360 gift, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV hand fan, and the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Washington, D.C., and we'll have a pizza party, and you're invited. So a lot of fun, and I learn a lot. I meet some great people, and, you know, would love to meet you if you can make it to D.C. So those are the price levels, or the giving levels, I guess would be the correct phrase. And, you know, the goodies that you can get by contributing to Free Speech TV, you know, and invoking the name of our program. But more important is just keep Free Speech TV going. This network is such a great thing. It is so important that Free Speech TV continue. So many of you I know, and I really, truly appreciate it, have been telling your friends and neighbors. I on Twitter and even an email, I get continuously a stream of people coming on saying, hey, a friend of mine told me about Free Speech TV, and I started watching, and now I'm, you know, totally hooked on Stephanie Miller, or I love your program, or, you know, Amy Goodman does news like there's no tomorrow, or whatever. I mean, it's just, I mean, there's a bunch of other great programming on Free Speech TV too. And it's working. So let's keep the momentum going. Let's keep this thing working. And let's keep the electrons flowing into your home. So call now, 877-378-8669, whether you can only afford to give $10 or whether you can afford to give $10,000. It's all needed right now. And in fact, back, 4, 5, 6 months ago, I guess it was, somebody had left their will. They had left part of their estate to Free Speech TV, and then they passed on. And it was a 6-figure gift. It was quite substantial. And, you know, that's a possibility too. You can contact Free Speech TV and talk to them about that, about leaving something in your will or in your, however you do that, whatever the appropriate language is for free speech TV. So there's lots of things that can be done. But most important, right now, we've got to hit this budget. We need to, we absolutely need to pay the bills. And that's what's at stake here. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you so much for supporting Free Speech TV. We're here because of you. Thank you.
Hey, want to hear that clip again? Subscribe to the Thom Hartmann Program on YouTube to see all your favorite show highlights. All the important stories we cover and the issues we care about are at HartmannReport.com. Members of our community can comment and join the conversation.
So Donald Trump refused to shake hands with Angela Merkel. They're sitting next to each other, and she says, "Would you like a handshake?" And he just looks at the floor. And now he's saying he likes Twitter because it allows him to communicate directly with people when the news organizations don't tell the truth. Right. That's the problem we have in the United States, is our news organizations don't tell the truth, but our president always does. Oh, man, this is bizarre. Wendy in Lancaster, California. Hey, Wendy, what's on your mind?
You're so brilliant. This is actually Wendy Reed. I am the 2016 challenger against House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, and I'll be running again in 2018.
Oh, great. Great. What's the website, Wendy?
I'm sorry?
What's the website?
WendyReedForCongress.com. Thank
Great.
you for asking.
Sure. Is it REED?
Correct.
Okay, great.
The reason that I'm calling is I wanted to speak to your presentation earlier in regard to Dem enter, Dem exit, the challenges of the Democratic Party to engage all new wonderful volunteers.
Right.
I think that one of the points that I argue or debate over and over with people is our infrastructure. I totally understand. As a Bernie organizer, I totally understand what happened through the primary process, the dysfunction at the DNC, the dysfunction at the DCCC, the dysfunction here, even in local county committees. But the fact remains, we have this infrastructure that is actually democratically elected with a small d.
Right.
Delegates to these central county committees come from Democratic clubs that are in all of these different communities. So I have some Bernie organizers that worked with me before Hillary Clinton was the chosen nominee. And after that, they bailed and went to the Green Party. 4 people get together in a room and elect themselves to the Central Committee of the Green Party and want to assert to me that that's somehow more democratic than the tens of thousands of people that have participated in electing the Democratic Party delegates. So I'm terrified that we are not engaging these people, that they have such a bad opinion of the Democratic Party brand, that they, will never vote Democratic. They'll never, get involved in their Democratic Party. And at the same time, and I do want to say at the same time, there are tons of people showing up for Democratic club meetings. The Democratic clubs are having to get larger meeting rooms to accommodate everybody. They were standing room only. Same with Mobilize, same with Indivisible. But I think at the end of the day, if we really want to capture political power, I think we really have to stick with and engage with the Democratic Party. So I wanted to ask you to expound further on that, speak to that, and can we inspire people to really re-engage with the Democratic Party?
Yeah, I've been saying this for decades. The Democratic Party is a multi-billion-dollar political machine, essentially. It's a nonprofit corporation, and it is small d, democratically elected. And if enough progressives get involved and get inside it, they can
take it over and take it back to the values of FDR and LBJ, back to the values of the Great Society and the New Deal, rather than to the values of, we'll be, nice corporate Democrats. And, I get it that there are some places where that's useful and some places where it may even be necessary. But increasingly, I am very concerned that the Democratic Party really needs to return to its roots. And we haven't been doing that very well over the last 15 or 20 years. And therefore, we've been losing elections like there's no tomorrow. So, it's all, we can sit around and complain about it all day long, but people need to do what you're doing, Wendy. Get inside, get active in the party, run for political office or run for at least party office and participate. And without that, there is no Democratic Party. With that, there's an extraordinary future. Wendy, thank you for the call and good luck. WendyReedForCongress.com. Kent in Somerville, South Carolina. Hey, Kent, what's on your mind?
Hey, Professor Tom. I really enjoy your show. You put on a good show, and the group that's working with you.
Thank you.
But the reason I'm calling is there's a lot of discrepancy about if Jesus Christ was married, and if he was married or not married, and did he have a child or did not have a child.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the Jewish law, if you got up there in the synagogues and preached, you had to be, and he did many times, because when he'd come down, he'd say, the people would say, I've never heard anybody talk like that before.
Right.
But anyway, you have to be a Jew, which Jesus was a Jew. You have to be 30 years of age, and you have to be married, and you have to have at least one child, a child or children. So that blew my mind.
So you think that was the Jewish law at the time, 2017 years ago?
Do what now?
You're saying that was Jewish law at that time. In order for Jesus to speak in the temple, he had to be married and had a child.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I've never heard that, Kent. I can't verify it or validate it. I know that there's been a lot of speculation about whether Jesus was married to Mary Magdalene or had a relationship with her at the very least. There's also a debate about whether Jesus even existed. But I think that given everything that happened around him, it's pretty probable he did. Kent, thanks a lot for the call. It's great to hear from you. Matthew in Lincoln, Massachusetts. Hey, Matthew, what's on your mind today?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. What's up?
Well, I don't know who to ask for advice on this. I used to be a white male, and I've been dyeing my skin black every day to become a black female. And I was just wondering, do you think that I have any chance?
Matthew, thanks a lot. Good try. John in Marshall, Michigan. Hey, John, what's on your mind today?
Oh, anything goes. Friday, Tom. Just down the road, Marshall, Michigan. Talked to you before.
Yeah, Marshall, Michigan's where I broke my back.
Right on.
that little airport you've got there. So what's up?
Well, anything goes Friday seems to be the theme for the last 58 whatever days of this administration of smoke and mirrors. Do you think that this whole Korea deal with Tillerson is just another diversion from keeping our attention away from the Russian money?
No, I don't. I don't think so at all. I think that the Korean deal is a much more consequential issue, frankly. And you've got a guy running North Korea who, in response to George W. Bush's declaration that North Korea, Iran, and Iraq were the axis of evil, and then Bush proceeded to go in and start bombing Iraq, Iran and North Korea immediately started developing nuclear weapons as a way of defending themselves against George W. Bush's irrational and bellicose rhetoric. And so now we're stuck with this situation, and it's not a good one. It's absolutely not a good one. And then on top, so you've got basically a crazy man. I mean, can you imagine being born and being told that you are divine, that you are the absolute ruler, you have absolute power over your country, being told that before you're even 4 or 5 years old? I mean, it's like this has to be the most twisting thing that happens to people. And you've got Kim Jong-un. He murdered his half-brother. He murdered several family members. It looks like he might have murdered a wife early on. This is Henry VIII all over again, or worse. Actually, it's far worse. And then on top of that, in South Korea, you've got a president who was just impeached for malfeasance in office, for bribery and bad business dealings with big businesses in South Korea. She's out on her keister, and in comes who knows. They're going to hold an election in the next couple of months in South Korea, but right now is a period of absolute uncertainty and instability. And the guy who's most likely going to be elected is the liberal who is actually in favor of negotiating with North Korea. And whether Rex Tillerson just, dropped a bomb on that or not, or whether he helped it, I don't know. But this is serious stuff.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Keep an eye on that place on North Korea, because that is the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest foreign policy challenge that Trump has right now. And welcome back. Norma in Montgomery, Alabama. Hey, Norma, what's on your mind today? Thanks for watching Free Speech TV. Norma? Norma's usually pretty good at this, so I'm assuming that she's trying to unlock her phone and push the mute button. Maybe not. Okay, I'm going to put Norma on hold, and we'll try Larry in Silver Springs, Nevada. Hey, Larry, what's on your mind? Thanks for watching Free Speech.
Hi. Thank you for letting me call. I did a couple of tours in Vietnam, and I was going to, talk about this guy that complained about the protests in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
I did 2 tours in Vietnam, and on my first tour, we protected the Silverado Oil Company while they were stealing as much oil as they possibly could from Vietnam. There was tankers lined up along the ocean just outside of China Beach, lined up to fill up with oil. And we had to protect these oil derricks that were pumping oil as fast as possible.
Wow.
And when I came back, I got spit on too. But after that, instead of getting pissed off at those guys, I protested as well, because we had no right to be over there. All we did is protect the Silverado Oil Company's rights to steal their oil.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of plunder going on in Vietnam. I remember the rumors that Lady Bird Johnson owned half of a construction company that was building all the Air Force bases in Vietnam. I don't know if those ever proved out to be true or untrue. I'm guessing that that's probably a little over the top. But that war was not a good war. I'm absolutely with you, Larry. And thank you for serving your country. I'm guessing it was involuntary, but thank you. And it's a tough one that anybody had to deal with that. Thank you very much. Jimmy in Littleton, Colorado. Hey, Jimmy, what's on your mind?
Yeah, the fast diet. I wanted to update you a little bit. You remember the fast diet?
Yeah, that's the 3 days a week you do less than 500 calories.
2 days a week.
2 days a week.
Changed it. My daughter just told me he upped it to like 800 calories for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, 800 calories to 5 days out of the month.
Is that what he said?
Well, I'm not sure if it's the same guy, but the latest study that I saw that was published, I think, in the New York Times a couple of weeks ago, maybe not even that long ago, was that the benefits of fasting, and this, they were looking at literally regeneration of pancreatic tissue in diabetics.
My mother just got off of insulin for 4 years of insulin doing the fast diet.
Yeah, the insulin, the pancreas would actually regenerate itself during a 5-day fast, and that the fast could include up to 800 calories a day before you flip that switch that shuts down the fasting response. So, and 800 calories, that's...
China surpassing us? Guess what they have in China?
What's that?
Fasting counselors.
Oh, really?
The government's actually supporting it there, where here you can't even get it on television.
Wow, there are certainly disadvantages of having an autocratic form of government, but one of the advantages is that when something is clearly good for people, even if it doesn't work in the best interest of industry, the government can put it into place. Not that I would want that form of government here, but just a contrast with how corrupted our government has been by big money and billionaires and whatnot. But that's fascinating, Jimmy. You're still on the diet?
Blood pressure medication, and that's just,
she did that hard, heavy fasting after poo-pooing it for 3 years.
Uh-huh.
They said, I'd already think you're on medication for high blood pressure. So,
right. There you go. There you go. Jimmy, thanks for sharing your story with us, your mom's story with us. Great to hear from you. We'll be right back. Hey, thanks so much to our show director, Louise Hartman, to my executive producer, Sean Taylor, to our video director, Chris Mendelis, to our radio and TV producer, Troy Miller, to our phone screener, Nate Atwell, to our writer-researcher, Nate Sweet, to our webmasters, Nigel Peacock and Jamie Holly, our business manager, Ron Hartenbaum, to everyone at the various organizations that syndicate our program or carry our program, Digital Media, Pacifica Radio, Sirius XM Satellite Radio, Cable Radio Network, Free Speech TV on Dish Network, DirecTV, all the cable providers who carry our show, including Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and all the others around the country, to all the great folks at Free Speech TV and RTTV who work on the big picture, to the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn, to Netroots Radio, to our newsletter editor, Sue Nethercutt, the folks in our chat room, to Alan Ratner, Victoria Jones, Bob Ney, and everyone at Talk Media News, to Jay Goodman-Tamboli for tech support, to our affiliates, our sponsors, and to you for supporting our program. Thank you so much, and happy St. Patrick's Day. Eric in Silver Spring, Maryland. Hey, Eric, what's on your mind today?
Yes, you're doing such a good job of what you own Free Speech TV and David Pakman.
Oh, thank you, Eric. David's a good guy.
Yeah, and I heard in 2012 from a friend of mine that in Georgia, landline telephone lines are becoming obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a very bad idea, especially for the people that's over 90 years old that depend on just the landlines and can't.
Right.
You know.
Well, that's why Reagan started that program where if you were indigent, you could get a free telephone. And, you know, the Fox News has convinced all the Republicans that these are called Obama phones. They're not. This was Reagan's program. And, you know, we should be, if we're not going to run long lines or if we're not going to maintain long lines out to people's rural homes, then, you know, and particularly for the elderly rural poor, we really do need to be providing them with cell phones. It just seems like a straightforward thing to do. Eric, thanks for bringing the topic up. It's a good one. Gordon in Stamford, Connecticut. Hey, Gordon, what's up?
Hi, Tom. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
I wanted to speak to you about what I call differential tax.
Okay.
And, you know, if you make your money illegally, you lose it all. It's like 100% tax.
Right.
Why don't they tax people who speculate or gamble at a much higher rate than if you made your money through products and services?
Well, we should, because speculating and gambling on money is a high-risk behavior for our entire society. It's what crashed the economy in 2008. But instead of perversely, instead of asking banksters who make their money with money, the top income tax rate is 39%. Instead of asking banksters to pay a top rate of 45 or 50%, we're asking them only to pay a top rate of 20%. So plus a 3.9% Obamacare tax, which they are fighting like crazy, which is why the Republicans say they're going to repeal Obamacare, because it's, you know, they need to cut this tax, which generates over $800 billion over a decade. And so, yeah, that's what's going on, Gordon.
And a high tax rate for gamblers would discourage that and encourage people to invest in products and services as opposed to trying to make money by gambling.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Very, very well said. The capital gains tax is crazy, at least the way that it's currently implemented. Thank you, Gordon. Christy in Snoqualmie, Washington. Am I saying it right, Christy?
Yes, that's right, Snoqualmie.
Hey, what's
Thank
up?
you, Tom. I really love your show, and I'm calling in. I own a small cafe in town, and in this climate, I'm just trying to really foster healthy democracy.
Mm-hmm.
So we're having a voter registration day tomorrow from 11 to 2, and buying anybody who registers to vote a cup of coffee.
Oh, that's great.
Try to do a couple of those before the 2018 election. And I also wanted to let people know that there's an organization called 500womenScientists.org.
Mm-hmm.
And they are a great organization. They are working on their NGO, and they're going to try to promote women who want to go into the sciences with scholarships and that sort of thing. And we're fundraising for them next week on Thursday at 7. But if you want to check out their website and join their organization and just support women in science, it's amazing. So
500womeninscience.org, 500womeninscience.org, is that it?
yes, that's it.
That is great. And Christy, Snoqualmie, is it closer to Vancouver or closer to Seattle?
It's closer to Seattle. It's near Snoqualmie Pass. And both of those events are at the Black Dog Arts Cafe, which is right downtown near Snoqualmie Falls.
That's great. Christy, thanks. Thanks for thanks for what you're doing, and thanks for taking the time to call and point it out. Great to hear from you. Connie in Hemet, California. Hey, Connie, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. First-time caller, and thank you for all you do. I wanted to tell you that I read your book, Walking Your Blues Away, and the reason I did is I heard you talking about it one day on your show, maybe, I don't know, a few months ago, and or maybe reading from it, I don't recall, but you referred to it, about how you could use it for PTSD or for various other traumatic reasons to do the bilateral walking to help alleviate your issue or whatever it was. My issue that I had 4 years ago, I went on blood thinners, warfarin as well as Coumadin, and became extremely ill having to take those because I had pulmonary embolism at the time. But my body just got to where it could hardly tolerate them, but yet the doctors and the blood nurse, everybody yelled and screamed and said, you have to do it. And anyway, I got terribly ill, and I finally just quit and told the doctor, this medicine is going to kill me before I ever get another blood clot, and so on and so forth. So I just pursued a healthier lifestyle. But as a result of the trauma of taking that medication, I found that I was unable to take any kind of an oral medication, be it a pill or a...
Connie, we just have a minute left until the end of the show. So you can...
I just want you to know that you're walking your blues away. I tried it, and it helped me, and I am able to take pills and medication now, vitamins. I can't take a ton at the same time, but I can take one or two, and I am a huge success of being able to do it, and I accredit your book, Walking the Blues Away, and I wanted to tell you that.
Great. Well, thank you for the testimonial, Connie. That book was, 10 years in the writing, and I sat on it for another 5 years at least before I submitted it for publication, because I just wanted it to be exactly right. It's a very small book, but the research that I did for that, when I was tracking down the timeline of Sigmund Freud's life and Franz Anton Mesmer's life, I was just astonished by what I learned, which is all in the book, and how self-healing we are, as biological and psychological organisms, and how the tools for self-healing are all built into us. It's remarkable. Connie, thank you for your kind comments.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And and good luck. And boy, if you can only take 1 or 2 pills at a time, that's all I can do. That's pretty impressive. So anyway, thank you all for being with us today and this week. It's Friday afternoon. It's been a fascinating week. And don't forget, democracy is not a spectator sport, as shall we say the president or the Bernie or... Okay, let's try both.
Democracy is not a spectator sport.
There you go.
Because democracy isn't a spectator sport.
I love it when politicians echo me. So get out there, get active, tag, you're it. We'll see you Monday.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit thomhartmann.com.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com. The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242 or visit freespeechbeets.com.